The Village of Biscayne Park to order the 1st of October 2013 at 7:10 p.m. Roll call, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Jacobs?
Here.
Vice Mayor Anderson?
Here.
Commissioner Cooper?
Here.
Commissioner Ross?
Here.
And Commissioner Watts is absent.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which we stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Additions, deletions, or withdrawals to the agenda? Manager?
Mayor, I just wanted to remove 2 of the minutes that are under consent.
Well,
I sent you the wrong file, so
okay.
those are being deferred to the next meeting.
We'll talk about that at consent. Any additions, deletions, or withdrawals?
Is Commissioner Watts not here? I can't see.
As of yet, she's not here.
Okay.
I did hear from her today, so maybe she's just running late.
Well, I'm just curious. She was supposed to have brought back the resolution 2013-30 regarding tree removal here in the village. Is the microphone on? Doesn't seem to be working. Okay. She had brought forth at the last meeting on the agenda resolution 2013-30 about tree removal here in the village, and I don't see it on this agenda, and I was under the impression that it would be here. Can you please advise us why it's not there, since we have a resident here in the audience who is very concerned about that?
Well, she did mention to me, during the time that we have the deadline for agenda items, and she said she was not ready. She was reaching out to, I believe, I think the county or some other agency, and she did not have everything ready to bring forward.
Okay. Well, I just want to state, and I know she's not here to defend herself, but I find it unfortunate that this resolution is not moving forward. I've been up here for about 2 years now since she took the dais, and I know that she has been working with a resident to get this accomplished, and I'm just really disappointed that it hasn't moved forward, and my sympathies go out to you, Marie. Thank you.
Any other additions, deletions, or withdrawals at this time? Moving on to public comment.
Fred Jonas, 918 119th Street. I want to talk about the synopsis you did, Noah, regarding the annexation workshop. You said, I'm quoting here, over and over, we were told by Commissioner Ross and some of her strongest supporters that we had no other choices. Commissioner Ross didn't say it over and over or once, and nobody else ever said that either. Not sure why you believe that to be true. We have over time talked about a number of alternatives for fundraising besides annexation. You say also, rather than try to examine our spending and possibly other options, we have done that in a very concerted way. Much of that happened before you got here, so you probably don't know about it. The heaviest of the lifting occurred when Ana Garcia became an employee here. We have continued to do that, and I'm just not sure why that's not clear to you. If you're saying that you believe that you or somebody else could find a few more dollars, I'm sure you're right about that, but it's not something that anybody ever omitted or that anybody doesn't look at now. We have also talked in the past about grants. There aren't a lot of grants out there for most purposes, and grants that are available for special purposes, not the usual running of a municipality. When Brian ran for commission, he offered to help us write grants, but he has since reneged and decided he doesn't want to help us anyway. I don't know that he could have accomplished anything. Claims he has expertise, but he hasn't shown it to anybody. But the fact of the matter is, we do still look for grants. We also have talked at some great length about supporting ourselves with a higher tax rate. You have been fiercely against that, as has Brian. Barbara's been a little bit more grudging about it, not so enthusiastically, but it's certainly something that we have talked about. Many of the residents of the neighborhood have stood up here and urged you to increase the tax rate because we have a very peculiar specialized municipality. We don't depend on the things most municipalities depend on, and we have to do things a little bit differently. But you've rejected that. At least you've done what you can to reject it. So if it's fair to say that you have left us with little else than annexation, then that's probably a reasonable argument to make. But to say that nobody else or no other mechanism of increasing revenue has been presented, or that there are no other choices, is just grossly inaccurate. I don't know where you got it from. You said it repeatedly, and maybe you'll tell us why you remember it that way. I don't think anybody else does.
Audrey Earhart, Ninth Court. I've lived here over 50 years. I've been a realtor over 30 years, and one of the reasons that our area has gone way up in residential sales and residential prices is because we are this community. And I am strongly against annexation, and I can tell you that the people who I've sold houses to in the 30 years are also against annexation. They want to remain Biscayne Park, and there must be other ways to solve this because during all the years I've lived here, we got along fine until maybe the last 10 years with our budget and so forth. There's got to be another solution. Thank you.
Chuck Ross, Griffin Boulevard. I have to concur with what Fred Jonas said about your email, Noah. It was full of misstatements about the process, about the potential boundaries, mischaracterizations of what Commissioner Anderson and my wife, Commissioner Ross, had said. And the lone idea that you had have for revenue is actually a retread of an old idea that was to put a retail structure just west of Village Hall, possibly 2 or 3 stories high, which is not allowed by our code. It would involve planning, changes in the land use, changes in zoning, changes in code, and by the time you got done with all those costs, it'd probably be equal to the cost of the proposed annexation. So since there's really no information, I don't think that's a viable solution, and I don't think it's going to bring in the revenue that annexation would. Other than that idea, I haven't heard of any significant alternate revenue strategy that is equal to the proposed annexation of the commercial properties to our east that has the potential to supply the necessary revenue stream to sustain and allow our village to thrive in the future. There was a workshop back in 2010 with Ken Small. He's known as the municipal revenue expert in Florida, one of the municipal revenue experts in Florida. And he described the limitations that we currently live under because we have no commercial properties. He has reviewed the annexation proposal, and he's endorsed it. You guys need to be brave. You need to make the investment in the future of Biscayne Park. Remember the old saying, nothing ventured is nothing gained. We can stand still and ask innumerable questions and do nothing and get nothing. Or we can move forward and do the best that we can to make Biscayne Park a better place to be. Thank you.
George Marinoni, 118th Street. About the annexation. In the beginning, I was against it when we had the bigger area because of all the residential properties that were involved in there. They're very difficult to manage. There is a lot of crime in there. At the end, they narrow to a part that is mostly commercial, and they have these two big buildings that are office buildings, and they have these new townhomes, and then some business in there. That's all. There is mostly no other residential areas. I think it's a very good fit for Biscayne Park. In the beginning I was against it, but we don't have any commercial areas here, and we have a dilemma. We want to invest money and risk it, like in a business. When I was in business, I decided sometimes to invest money as a risk because the rewards were good enough. I think there is a lot of rewards in here because they are forever. Once you annex the area, it will be forever. There is a lot of risk because the county can go with North Miami. North Miami, I understand, have like 2 commissioners for them. We only have 1 commissioner, as long as I know. I don't know anything about the politics in the county, how they are going to turn. But I know that if we don't invest and risk something, we are not going to gain anything. If we have enough, I mean, we are going to lose money in 1 year if we lose here. It's risky. Maybe we have a 40% chance, maybe a 50% chance to get this. But we lose this money and we lost it. But if we win, we are going to win forever. And a section is not for 1 year or 2 years or 5 years, it's forever. So that's the conclusion I got. Maybe we should risk this money and see if we can get it. I don't know if this is my 2 cents. I know that there's been a lot of thought in this. Most people have their minds made. But if the county doesn't change the area, if they don't want us to bargain and annex the residential areas, and they say, okay, then it's a win for us. If they want us to take the residential areas, it's a loss for us. And we should probably not do it. And that's what I have to say about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Dan Rodriguez, 113th and 9th Avenue. I've been living here for about 22 years. I've seen Biscayne Park grow, and I like the way it's growing. I commend all the leadership, all the time that you guys give to Biscayne Park. I really think that we have some really good neighbors, very thoughtful. I see it growing with a lot of families. I see us going in a good direction. The annexation of, as the gentleman prior to me and other people have said, that it's only good if we get business revenue, obviously. And the residential part of it is definitely a no-go. Our police effort will be diverted there. I know for sure that there's a lot of drugs being sold there. They jokingly, the kids call it heroin alley, and I don't think that's something that we need. We should be a little more creative and think of other ways. Possibly, you know, Bell Harbor has a toll. I don't know how tolls work. Maybe we can make a toll between Walmart Boulevard and over here Home Depot Court. What I'm getting at is that maybe there's other ways that we can do it. Maybe we can cut trash to one time a day. I mean, 1 time a week instead of twice a week. There was a proposed a long time ago. There was a proposed to go and do it with outside sourcing the trash. That would take a big load off of us. I love our trash department, but if we need to make cuts, we need to make cuts. Maybe we can move the police department where they're at into another building over and make a building over here with the trash, combine them into a city, and take that whole lot and make it into farmers market, make it into restaurants, make it into convenience stores that we do need as a community. You know, we have a lot of cul-de-sacs that we can turn into different things. Maybe, you know, right now they're just in that park area, just sitting there wasteful. You know, I agree that we don't need anything second, third floor level unless it's for government, and if it's, you know, if the residents in the area allow it. But I don't think annexation is the right way to go with our families. Our police department will be, our budget will just go, and fire department, and just the ambulances, it's just not something we need. Why don't we just annex the zone between Miami Shores and over there by across the river, by the bridge? There they have the subway. There they have other things. That's totally unincorporated Dade. Well, let's not just fix ourselves on the east. Thank you for your time and all of your service.
Thank you very much.
Dale Blanton, Griffin Boulevard. I was just wanted to speak about the annexation. I believe that what we're looking at is giving the commission a go-ahead to investigate further and put in money to further investigate. It doesn't mean it's a done deal, but it's to proceed further. I think it's money that would be well spent. With regards to the prior resident, I'm sorry, turning lots and other areas into businesses for Biscayne Park is in essence incorporating or annexating another area. That's changing the character of Biscayne Park. I think we do realize that Biscayne Park may need to change. I personally do not want to see my trash pickup or anything else outsourced. That's changing the character of Biscayne Park. I think by annexing the area or looking towards it, we may be able to reap the benefits of increased revenue in the future, as well as keeping what we have grown to love about Biscayne Park. I must say I am a little disappointed in the mayor and how his synopsis of the workshop. I find most of his correspondence to the residents very misleading and full of inaccuracies the majority of the time. As a non-property owner, I think he doesn't really have a vested interest in the park as a whole. I was a little disappointed in Ms. Watts at the workshop when she stated that she was very concerned about the residents of the apartment building. I think she's a little short-sighted in not thinking that the residents there may actually want to be a part of Biscayne Park, may want to have our police force monitor them and enforce, especially with our response time and how we've been able to resolve any of our outstanding crimes. I think we should give the opportunity and look at the moving forward with annexation, at least in the near, looking into it. Thank you.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. Actually, I didn't even speak to Dale about this, but everything he was saying I agree with, and I have it written down here. And I also was very disappointed in the mayor's synopsis, because one of the points that I'd like to make is you made it sound as if we had to come up with another $15,000, $20,000. And really, a lot of the money has already been spent with our planners doing all of these processes, and it sounds like there's maybe another $5,000, $6,000, and I think we should definitely go ahead. We're more than halfway there. As far as and I wrote this to the mayor, he's already gotten my email about this, as far as developing the property next to the log cabin, the church parking lot, I don't want commercial property in Biscayne Park. I don't mind having it where it is, but I don't want to be looking at the back of a business. And I don't want our log cabin, if we ever get the money to, or when we get the money to improve it, and maybe develop that whole area, I don't want to be looking at the back of a business, whether you think we can make money on that. It's a very small piece of land. It's just not worth it, with cars going in and out and just changing the whole character. The same thing with annexing, talk about annexing that area where Miami Country Day owns probably 3/4 of it, and probably in the next 10 years they'll own the entire area, because it's a growing entity. They are not lacking money, and we're just going to be paying for the services and getting absolutely no revenue. So I think we should go ahead with the annexation with this, and not spend money with our planners trying to find out if the church parking lot, the part that we own, and the area around Country Day is a viable option, because to me that is a waste of money. Thank you.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, closing public comment at this time. I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Evening, everyone. Jared Susi, 1030 Northeast 120th Street. One thing that we've all missed is impact fees, development fees. You're looking at developing a shell lot. Why not protect our home values by protecting the amount of developing that's going on? When you add a bathroom, a lot of cities, they charge impact fees for roads, for schools. Yes, it costs us a little bit more, but it protects ourselves and raises the revenues. So, that's it.
Thank you very much. Any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, closing public comment. Moving on to interim village manager report. I apologize, village manager report.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners and residents. I just wanted to give everybody an update that let me gather my thoughts. Our election is coming up on December 3rd. Qualifying starts on October 14th and runs through October 28th. Our candidate packets are ready at Village Hall.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Our qualifying period starts October 14th and runs till October 28th. Our candidate packets are available at Village Hall, and there's a lot of information also available on our website. So anybody's interested, any questions, please check our website, or you can call my office, and we'd be happy to help you.
I have a question. Several years ago, there was a meeting here with that the Miami-Dade County provided with information for people who were anticipating running.
On our website, I have one, the one that is currently going on. I believe it was in Homestead.
Ooh.
They have not scheduled the next one,
okay.
But I am in contact with them that the next one that's available, I'll put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And I believe also the Good Government Initiative has something going on this Friday, October 4th. And that information is also on our website.
Moving on to consent.
Mayor, very briefly.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
no problem.
apologize.
Just very briefly on the village attorney. If you all recall, we had an executive session concerning the collective bargaining agreement with the police department. We had our first negotiation session with them. Without getting into details, I can tell you that if I considered, the manager considered it gone well, basically consistent with our conversation that we had, consistent with Florida law outside the public, and we're going to be asking, Maria will be sending out an email to schedule a meeting, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, out to try to go ahead and see if we can't wrap up that contract, which would be fantastic for everybody. So wanted to update you all on that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mayor. Attorney, I have a question. I believe our Public Works has a contract open too.
It does. I have Steve Hall is their bargaining unit from the IUP, and I don't know if he's been out or not, but I'm reaching out to him, and hopefully we can start that and wrap it up in a very quick fashion as well.
Okay, so their union haven't got a hold of us yet.
We had conversations in August, but once I started with the police, I did send him an email and not heard back, but we'll follow up with him.
Okay.
I don't think that's going to be too difficult either, I hope. So,
Thank you.
Mayor, do you think we can check our schedules to see if we can schedule a meeting in 2 weeks?
See what we can do.
Perhaps 15th is the day after a holiday, but we're open if you're open. Tuesday, October 15th?
Give me a second. I'm apparently going to be the last one. The technology is a beautiful thing.
That's Tuesday.
Yes, sir.
All I know is there's a bite out of my apple. I'm waiting for it to warm up.
I have to have a note here. October 22nd. I believe that sounds good for Commissioner Anderson.
No.
How's everybody on the 15th?
What
I'm
time were you
fine.
thinking?
We can't hear anything anyone's saying.
I don't think John's microphone was working when he was speaking, for one.
Does this man, does the attorney have a microphone?
Yeah, it's right here.
But it didn't seem to be working.
Can't hear anything, not just me, all of us.
Okay, let me,
There's open seats. No, they just have hearing.
give me, it appears that I'm free on the 15th. I don't.
No, Commissioner Ross is not.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
The 16th would be okay.
I'm okay on the 16th.
Not the attorney. 17th?
What time?
17th, I'm okay.
Maybe in the evening, a 6:30 meeting, or 6:30?
Not 6.
I can do a 6:30 on the 17th.
That's
Okay, everybody else?
I could do that on the 17th at 6:30? Okay.
Commissioner Anderson and Commissioner Cooper?
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
Give me 1 second.
Thank you.
It looks like that will work.
it should be no more than an hour.
Commissioner Cooper, yes?
I think that will work.
And that will be an executive session?
Yes.
And that's going to be starting at what time?
6:30,
6:30?
or 6, if you can do it.
Please,
6:30 is better for me.
6:30, you got it. Okay,
6:30 is
Thursday,
better for
October
me.
17th at 6:30 PM. Thank you.
One moment. Moving on to consent agenda. Does anybody need to pull anything off of the consent? I know that manager had said.
Yes, August 13th and September 21st. I'm sorry that it did not include it in your packets.
I'd like to pull 9C, please.
Okay, so that'll become 12B.
If you're ready for a motion,
I'm ready for a motion.
make a motion that we approve the balance of the consent agenda.
And I'll second that.
I've got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion passes. The consent agenda, with the exception of 9C as in Charlie, has been approved. 9C is now 12B as in boy. It will be heard later tonight. The other things that were pulled were the August 13th and September 21st minutes.
Correct.
Okay. Everything else on the consent agenda has been moved forward and passed. Moving on to 10A as in Apple, the variance request. I would like to hand it over to the attorney at this point because it is a quasi-judicial matter.
Thank you, Mayor. The first question, I guess, is the planning and zoning chair is not here, but he's supposed to be coming.
Yeah, he said 7:30.
Do we want
So you could move this back if you'd like to, or we can
to,
continue. Okay.
let's hold off. I think it's best if we hold off on it until we give him more of a chance to come. Everybody's had traffic issues at some point in Miami, I'm certain. So if we can postpone that to later in the meeting.
If I may suggest taking the item we just moved, 12B, it might be smaller than the next one.
Let's do that. Let's take 12B, and then when planning and zoning representative appears, we can pull, with the commission's acceptance, pull the variance request back in with some immediacy. Is there any concern with that? Any problem?
No, that's fine.
So we are now looking at Resolution 2013-44. If I could have Commissioner Ross present it, please.
Thank you. Just a moment. Let me pull my materials. I actually appreciate that Commissioner Cooper pulled this from consent, because I think that it does merit some discussion and bringing light to the subject of bullying and harassment. This was a resolution that I saw passed in the city of Surfside, the town of Surfside, and I wanted to bring it here in Biscayne Park, particularly with the beginning of the school year, to raise awareness and in order to educate people and even educate our staff on how to address these issues. So as we settle into the school year and the fall cycle, it seemed a good time to focus on in this area. Bullying has become an increasing problem, where 1 in 5 students report being bullied in school. And the proliferation of social media has increased children's exposure to cyberbullying substantially. A number of social movements, including those embraced by Miami-Dade County School Board and the Anti-Defamation League, challenge hate, prejudice, and bullying while supporting diversity and tolerance. This resolution promotes an anti-bullying policy to increase awareness and to encourage education and support, and to promote children's safety. I could read the resolution if you would like, but Commissioner Cooper, if you have any questions in particular, I'm happy to respond.
I do. As most of the people up here on the dais know, that we had a situation in our village hall where a staff member once felt that she was being bullied. I would respectfully ask that we modify this resolution to go beyond just intimidation of children, but to include bullying in the workplace. There's quite a bit of scholarship on the issue, and I think that with just a tweaking of the verbiage, we can add and employees at village facilities. We will do a justice to past employees here as well as the future employees of this great village.
If I may respond.
If I can interrupt just for a moment.
Sure.
I'm lacking some clarity, Commissioner Cooper.
Sure.
Are you just looking at an addition of a few words where it says "and intimidation of children"? You want to put "and intimidation of children and adults at village of it"? You're just looking for the addition of those 2 words after children?
I think that would suffice, but I think it's good to include employees, to protect our village employees specifically.
So, and adults or employees.
That would be good, yes.
I apologize for interrupting. Commissioner Ross?
I think that, Commissioner Cooper, if that is your focus of interest, then I welcome you to bring a resolution that would address some of those issues. But this is clearly targeted at children, and it calls for our staff to work on an awareness campaign and a reporting system for bullying, harassment, and intimidation. It urges the village's Parks and Recreation and Advisory Board to also join in the development, and the focus of this particular movement is in particular children.
I appreciate your comments, Ms. Ross, but I would like to make a motion at this point to include the verbiage that was just articulated by our mayor, and I would appreciate a second from one of my colleagues up here so that we can expand this resolution to include other people who need to be protected against bullying.
As a school teacher in the middle school system, I have to deal with any number of subtle bullying issues and not so subtle bullying issues, both, in my opinion, at the employee and at the adolescent stage. I appreciate what Commissioner Ross has put forward. I fully support it. I don't see any problem with the expansion, and I'd be happy to second it.
Thank you.
So but I need an entire motion in that regard.
To add the verbiage, intimidation of children, adults, and/or employees at village facilities to the resolution, providing for an effective date.
And like I said, I second that motion. Is there any other?
Well, just one thing, I wonder why the specifics are necessary. Could you just say prevention of bullying, harassment, intimidation, and cyberbullying at village facilities?
I think it sends a message to be a little bit more explicit given the past occurrences here.
Any other discussion at this time?
This resolution basically is all about about children, and we go and all through here is about children, and even talking about their schools, etc. I think it would be clearer by having a separate resolution, keeping this one for the children as it's written, have a separate resolution covered for the adults.
In particular, because it's talking about the Recreation Department and the Recreation Advisory Board working to develop this policy, and also for training of village staff. Throughout it, we are talking about the intimidation of children, and we're talking about protecting children in this resolution as I brought it. And that was my focus. I took it from another city that has developed this and is working with other municipalities. I really don't want to burn a lot of time on this because we have other business to take care of, but I encourage Commissioner Cooper to bring a resolution that covers the aspects of bullying that are his focus. My focus today is protecting children.
It would be a big time saver of our commission time and our staff time if we would just add the verbiage. And if the verbiage is not added, we look forward to Election Day in December. People are going to pay attention to this type of stuff.
All we have right now is a resolution with the second adding the verbiage. At this point, all I'm going to ask for, and ma'am, then I will take your comment. At this time, all I'd like is a vote up or down on whether that verbiage will be added to the resolution. All in favor?
Aye.
Could we hear what the lady has to say?
Ma'am, come on up. If you can introduce yourself, please.
I'm Nicole Mundy at 1030 Northeast 120th. I think sometimes as adults we lose sight of what the bigger picture is. I think the bigger picture is us all working together as residents in Biscayne Park, members of the commission. I think adding the verbiage is something that's very simple and easy to do. I think that if we're promoting a campaign to prevent bullying of children, I think we need to practice what we preach and be able to prevent bullying in workplaces also. And if it's something that's as easy as adding 3 words to this, I think that that's something that's very simple and easy to do. And I agree with Cooper, it saves time, it makes everybody happy. The bigger picture, the kids stop getting bullied, adults in the workplace stop getting bullied, and everybody's happy. I don't think it's something that we have to stress over and make such a big deal about. It's something easy, and we need to be adults and work together to get the end result that we all want, which is a better little village. And that's all.
Thank you so much. Mr. Blanton, you're going to get the last word.
I thought you were opening it up for public comment. 12025 Griffin Boulevard. With all due respect, this is about children. We have a human resources manual, or we should. If we don't, that's the place for employees and how they're treat one another. I think the biggest bullying comes from a commissioner and a former commissioner with the employees. I think he should drop what he has started. He's already cost the village thousands of dollars with arbitration, which he didn't even agree with. He's the one that asked for it. Brian, stop this nonsense.
You know it was a unanimous vote. You're just speaking falsehoods to the public.
Appreciating that it always appears that issues might be simple on the surface, and yet somehow there might be intricacies that we're not always aware of, or that sometimes we end up in that don't need to be dealt with. At this point, everyone's had a chance to speak. I would like to call for a voice vote in regard to the changing of the verbiage, and then I'll let you speak on the motion as it stands. All in favor of changing the verbiage to add the language to cover adults as well as children? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Verbiage is changed pursuant to Commissioner Cooper's motion.
I'm not exactly sure where the verbiage is going to be changed and where the support for the resolution will now lie, because this resolution tracks Florida legislation that specifically addresses bullying and harassment in public schools, cyberbullying in public schools, and the protection of children. So now we have legislation that's set out in the whereas clauses that set the base for the resolution and support the resolution. We're going to throw in a couple of words that aren't really substantiated with the rest of the language. So what I would suggest is, Commissioner Cooper, that I would suggest that we put this aside until next month, and perhaps Commissioner Cooper can do a little research and bring in the language that he would like to see added, rather than just throw in 3 words that don't really mean anything and don't add to what was carefully thought out and researched.
Are you moving to table, or are you just making a speech?
We just had a vote.
I'm suggesting that we put this resolution off until next month.
Are you moving to table or not?
Well, a motion to table would postpone something indefinitely.
Okay, are you moving?
I'll make a motion that we postpone this until next month, and I invite Commissioner Cooper to bring the backup and the language that he feels could be integrated in here.
Okay, I've got a motion.
I'll second that.
I presume, although it wasn't very clear, I've got a motion to move this to the November agenda. I've got a second. All in favor of moving this to the November agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
3. All opposed to moving it to the November agenda?
No.
Nay. Motion's moved 3-2 to the November agenda. Okay.
10 minutes, 10 minutes ago.
We just wasted $500 in village staff time come November.
Going to,
Oh, there he is.
there we go.
Perfect timing.
I would now request that we move to item 10A, the variance request, giving Mr. Olis a couple minutes to collect his thoughts.
Mr. Hartung.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Hartung. I knew I was talking about. I just.
Yeah. And Mayor, while you're doing that, if you want, I can walk through the process.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll remind the commission and the audience and those who are going to testify, this is different than most of what occurs at the commission level. Most of what the commission level is legislative or policy. This here is actually the commission sitting in a quasi-judicial capacity.
Attorney Hearn, if you wouldn't mind, see if you can switch microphones, because somehow that's not picking up. See if that'll help.
Is that better? Oh, wow.
Much.
Yeah.
Much. Thank you.
Most of what the commission does is policy making and legislation. This is actually a variance, and under state law, it's quasi-judicial, which means that you sit here as a quasi-judicial judge-like capacity. You also are going to sit as the jury also as to the facts. Under our variance, this already went to the Planning and Zoning Board. The variance before you is a request from the property owners at 780 Northeast 119th Street. And the request is for a fence that is in the front setback. So it's a proper mechanism to go to the Planning and Zoning Board and request a variance. That did occur. I know the chairman now is here. I'm sure he's also going to testify. When it goes to the Planning and Zoning Board, they recommend. It is this commission that makes the final determination. And what they need to do is they cannot recommend a variance unless they expressly find 4 items. 1, that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting the property, which are such that the strict application of the code or the law would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of his property. 2, that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right. 3, that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property in the territory. 4, that the variance proposes the minimum variance, which makes it possible to have reasonable use of the property. That recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board was actually against the variance, so now it comes to you with that recommendation. If you disagree with the Planning and Zoning Board and find that those 4 material items have been met, then you can go ahead and vote to approve the variance.
Repeat those 4 for me one more time, please.
Yep, I sure will. That there are special circumstances or conditions affecting this property which would deprive the applicant of reasonable use of the property. The second one is that the variance is necessary for the preservation and enjoyment of a substantial property right. The third is that the granting of the variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare or injurious to other property. Basically, the closer the property, the more important that is. 4, that the variance proposes the minimum variance, which makes the reasonable use of the property possible. So what's going to happen now is the petitioner has the burden of proof. So that will come before you, and there needs to be a majority vote of this commission for a yes. If there's a tie, of course, it fails, and we have 5 tonight, so I don't anticipate that. I'm going to now, anyone that is going to speak on the item, certainly the petitioner, any of the petitioner's witnesses will stand up. Mr. Hartung is here, correct? He'll stand up. And anyone else is going to give testimony. If you raise your right hand, I'm not going to stand, unfortunately, because it's making noise, and just respond in the affirmative. Do you swear that the statements and testimony that you're about to give today are the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, so let the record reflect that everyone that's going to speak has raised their right hand and confirmed that. So, Mayor, I would suggest that one of 2 things. You can have the Planning and Zoning Chair go first to explain their process, or have the petitioner go first. Either way, we will do either the petitioner or the Planning and Zoning Board, whatever order you find be best, and then we will do with the other individuals that have stood up to give their testimony. And remember, I'm sorry, Mayor, that for this commission not to give any opinion on this until you've heard all the evidence. You may ask questions but not give an opinion. Thank you, Mayor.
Let's hear the head of the P&Z board first.
Good evening. Gage Hartung, Planning and Zoning Chair. Maria, can you put the survey on? Survey back up? Was it? This was brought before us actually last month. It's actually really quickly. At first glance, when you see the survey, and you drive by the property, when this was first brought in front of us, we kind of were like, wow, I mean, these poor people, they've got the house in the back and such. But then we started really looking at it and focusing on it. And what we focused on was this lot is 220 feet deep. And most of the lots in Biscayne Park are roughly 125, 150 feet in that area depth. So if you took off 70 feet to 150 feet, and you looked at it like it had a normal front yard, and then you calculated roughly the amount of space that they do have behind their back porch, behind their house, which they have, 32 feet, 22 feet, 15 feet on the side, and you kind of calculated it, they pretty much have the same ability to enclose as much of their property under the current code as people on corner lots, some people with regular, in block lots. So when we started really looking at that, we were like, well, just because there was a front yard, we didn't see the hardship, basically. So then we looked at, with that in mind, we looked at the 4 points of the variance that you need for a variance. And, you know, basically the only thing that we found that was number 3, which is the grading variance, was not detrimental to public welfare, because the other 3 points, that there are special circumstances or conditions affecting properties were such that the strict application provisions of this chapter would deprive the applicant of a reasonable use of their property. You know, having a fence in the front yard is not really going to prevent them from enjoying reasonable use of their property. I mean, there are other ways of enclosing your front yard through creative landscaping. You know, we even have in our new code now where you could put a hedge with a beautiful gate in front. We've now expanded to that. So taking that into account, it's not, we didn't feel that having the fence in the front would stop them from having reasonable use. Again, the same logic being taken to number 2, which is the preservation and enjoyment of substantial property right of the petitioner. So again, by not having a fence or not having a fence in the front yard, it's not stopping them from substantial use and enjoyment of their property. They still could play ball and do whatever they need to do in the front yard. I mean, they have a really great sized lot. And then the variance, as far as the minimum variance, which makes possible the reasonable use of their property, again, looking at the logic of what they're able to enclose with their property as far as a percentage compared to other people in the park, there's not a, we did not feel that there is a hardship on that part. So that's why, that was the logic of coming to where we did as far as that is, as far as the front yard fence. The side yard fences is another story, and pretty much, you know, the logic there is, yes, it can go up to the front of the property person and line up with the people next door, but then you start thinking about, okay, well, if we start allowing people to do that, then we kind of negate the law and the fact that now, from now on, when somebody else comes up here and says, well, my house is set back 10 feet further than my neighbor's house, so I want to run my fence up to the front, which negates the laws as far as the front corners. So again, it's just, it did not, we felt it didn't, it was opening Pandora's box, as well as not actually having a fence to the front or not is not really meeting code, you know, sections 1, 3, and 4 of the code for a variance.
Thank you.
Okay.
Questions?
I'm sure it was here, but what was the vote of your board?
There were 3 of us present, and all 3 of us voted no, not to recommend, I should say.
How many people were missing that day?
We're a 5-member board.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Petitioner?
My name is Gary Cope. I'm the architect for the 780 Northeast 119th Street. This is the owners, Manuel Espinosa and Bernard Espinosa. And we think that we have met all the 4 points that the attorney had presented. This property is different than all the other property in Biscayne Park. I believe that that's the only property, the house is way in the back. I don't think there's no other property this way. So like you were saying that we're not going to open Pandora's box, actually this is a special case. That property, which means like there's no backyard, the backyard is really, really tiny, which means that the area, the property is forced to serve as backyard is mostly the front of the area, the front of the property. If we can close it at the edge of the property like the gentleman was saying, which means that there are actually no spaces for people to move around, and they have dogs and they have places for them to enjoy, there are none. If you look in the back of the property, it's only 22 feet. In front of the property itself is 175 feet in front of the house. And that fence that we're recommending will be actually at the edge of the next door neighbor. It's not going to be at the front of the property, it's actually going to be a back still at the front of the next door neighbor. And also, before that, when Mr. Espinosa and his wife moved in on the property, they actually improved the whole area. That property that was there, it was mostly a dilapidated house that was there, and they improved it, and everybody actually enjoyed the work that the Espinosa did to the house. They actually enjoyed everything they had done, also including the fences. And all the property, that's why they signed the letter, they recommend that they enjoy what the Espinosa had done, and they want to keep it. All the neighbors. all the 4 neighbors in the area, they agree with the fences. And because all the neighbors, they enjoy what they did, what the Spinoza have done. The Spinoza have really changed the property, what is it now and what it was then. And because of that, that's why it's really good to let them keep the fence. Because the area has been improved just because of that.
I want to show.
If you'd like, you're more than welcome to come up. Please introduce yourself.
My name is Marta Espinosa. Obviously, I'm one of the owners, me and my husband. There was an existing fence in the house before.
Ma'am,
I
if
can
you
show
can, if you can grab the microphone as you walk. Thank you.
Turn it on?
Just walk with it.
Okay. No, actually, you could bring the pictures over, and you could bring the pictures over. This is how it used to be. I want to be able to sit in my porch and my dogs to be around me. As he suggested, I could play ball if I was a human. I could play ball with my dogs if I had my fence around it. My dogs had other dogs, siblings that actually were killed by cars. So I'm actually protecting my dogs not to be hurt. I'm not talking about covering the front of the yard. I'm talking about this is a 4-foot fence. I'm not blocking any view. I'm not, anybody could see what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything illegal. I just want to enjoy my house with my dogs. I have boxers. They love to run. Okay, so you're limiting myself not to be able to sit on my porch and enjoy the view that I have because of some regulations when I have a whole front of me. Who's going to enjoy the front of my house? Somebody else? Because I cannot have my fence to have my dogs with me? Am I going to sit in my backyard? We have no view. Okay, so this is what you want to do? That I can't even enjoy am I in the United States? Are you limiting myself, my house, my family to enjoy my front yard? Are you kidding me? I mean, it's a 4-foot fence that is open to the public. And you're giving me a hard time about this? I came from Cuba for freedom, and you're blocking my view? I can't understand that I'm here because of a 4-foot fence. Okay? I have 3 dogs, 2 boxers that love to run. Okay? That's all I want. I want to be able to sit in my porch and see my dogs run around my yard. That's all I want to do. I don't think I'm asking for much.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming forward. I appreciate it. Might not have been by choice, and I do realize how stressful it is to speak in front of a group and in front of commissioners as well. I want to thank you for that. You said your boxers like to run. I apologize, I need to ask the question. If they like to run, do they like to jump? And is 4-foot fences are 4 feet fences, excuse me for the language. Are they?
They're brothers and sisters, there's 2 brothers and sisters, and they're boxers, they box. And they run, because they're boxers, they run around the house.
Again, and are they likely to jump over that 4-foot high fence?
No, they don't jump.
Okay.
They don't jump. They're like little children, they would not jump. I mean, any dog, they see, the boxers are not vicious dogs, they're very friendly, and the concern of me jumping is for them to, like if I didn't have the fence, they would go to the street, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. The 4-foot fence is just, they know that they can go outside because the fence is there. And that's the whole reason. I want to protect my dogs not to be killed. And if I bought a house so I don't have to go to the park and be worried that some dog would attack my dogs, I mean, and I had no idea that a 4-foot fence that is not blocking any view is going to be an issue. Especially if I have the size of the yard that I have, and I have no yard space in the backyard. So, like you said, you want to be able to enjoy and play ball. I want to do that. But without a fence, I can do it because then they see a dog walking and they're animals. So they're going to go and chase a dog, and that's what I'm trying to avoid. I do want to play ball with my dogs, but I cannot do it if I don't have the fence there. So you are limiting the use of my house for some type of regulations that you have, especially if I have the yard. I'm not taking somebody else's yard, and all my neighbors, they love me. Why? Because I've improved the property that was totally dilapidated. So, thank you.
Commissioners?
I would like to add is that we did spoke to each one of the next door neighbors, and they even signed a letter approving that they have no objection on these small fence. And as a matter of fact, JR is here. He's my next door neighbor, and he doesn't oppose to that. So the other neighbors, they don't oppose to this. This is 150 feet behind the property line. When I read the ordinance, it says 15 feet away from the property line. Mine is 150. I'm not blocking anybody. I'm not, that fence is not harming anybody in the entire Biscayne Park. So we're please requesting for this to be reviewed and allow for us to keep this decorated fence.
Thank you. Commissioners?
Yeah. I noticed you did a lot of work on the house, and I see you had a lot of permits for doing all the work. But I see a fence was put up with no permit. And I just don't understand that you're going through all the processes of getting permits for everything, but you went ahead and put a fence up with 0 permits. So that means nobody knows if that fence was put up properly or not. Instead of going ahead and asking for it and start through the process, it was done. I'm looking at on your survey in your backyard, one corner, yes, you only have 22 feet. But the other side of your house in the backyard, you have 32 feet, and you got 75 feet in width. There's a wood deck back there, and there's brick pavers with a patio. It's like what was brought up by our P&Z chair. A lot of your corner lots, people that have their houses, they have a front yard and a very little bit of a backyard, and on the side they have, that is basically their property area. They have dogs. They have those areas fenced in. It gives them the same amount you have about the same amount of space. Yes, people can have a fence running around in front of their house so you can have your dogs or your pets circle the house. Because this is in Biscayne Park, we wanted to always have an open look to when people look at a house. And that's why that code exists. And I don't understand why that fence was put in there without a permit.
Mayor, if we just limit it to questions of the petitioner, because there are still more witnesses that are going to come up, so give our opinion after we hear all the evidence.
Any other comments from commissioners?
Questions?
Oh, questions, I apologize.
I've got some questions. I'd like to ask the attorney, has he looked at the case at hand? And I'd like his opinion about the 4 criteria. As I look at it, my observation is that this petitioner qualifies for this variance, notwithstanding the fact that a permit wasn't pulled originally, but I think we can probably get some additional testimony as to whether that fence is to code or not. But I'd like to hear what you say, John, about meeting the 4 criteria.
Okay, 2 things. I'll have to give that opinion right now, but before we get deeper into it, you need to have all the witnesses. But as far as that question, because it comes up over the years, and the interesting part is the law says that the attorney, this is a question of fact by a quasi-judicial body, so the attorney cannot give his opinion as to that question of fact. Those are 4 questions of fact that you need to, when you receive all the evidence, and you haven't yet, because I saw about 6 or 7 other people with their hands up and being sworn in. When you hear all that evidence, you weigh those 4 criteria in a quasi-judicial matter, so the lawyer cannot give his opinion as to whether he feels the special exception has been met.
One
Because
last question.
Oh, sure.
If I could ask one question to the mayor. I've driven by the property and seen how far removed this house is and how far it's set back on the lot. Has any of the other commissioners seen this? Okay.
It's substantial.
All right, thank you. Ms. Ross, did you see it?
I have driven by the property, yes.
Thank you.
So, Mayor, what I would suggest is that we get all the witnesses
Absolutely.
to testify.
I don't know exactly what order. A number of you had raised your hands. Unfortunately, I didn't have some go around, and I know Ms. Kuehl had raised her hand, and Dr. Jonas, and Ms. Mundy. Okay. Why don't we go from commissions left to right, if that's okay? Ms. Kuehl? Was there anybody I left out? I apologize. That had gotten sworn in.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. I don't particularly think there's any hardship for this property owner any more than anybody else who lives in Biscayne Park and has a dog and would like to have their dog run free in their yard fenced in. This commission worked on a fence ordinance, I don't know, a year ago, and it took a long time, and it was decided that fences weren't going to be in the front yard. And everybody who buys a house in Biscayne Park, this is not a new, we haven't had fences in the front yard for probably 15 years or more. So it's not something that just changed, and you might have bought a house thinking, well, I could have a fence, and now I can't. The one thing that troubles me, because I happen to walk down this street every morning when I walk, and I'm just going to take this for a second. If this was, these seem to be the drawings that were submitted to planning and zoning, and it shows the fence stopping here. But actually, all of a sudden, the fence extended all that 40 feet into the front, and now there's an RV behind it. Now, in August 19th, it went to planning and zoning, and they denied the variance. A couple of days later, I happened to walk by and I noticed this fence, and I emailed our code officer, and they said, oh, it went to planning and zoning, they denied it, and they're going to try to get a variance. So I didn't think much about it. A while later, I realized there was an addition to the fence where it's extending out. This is not what it looks like. It is not, and I wouldn't want it this way either because it is against our code. But right now, the fence does extend all the way out. And as far as like this being the only property, that's the way our codes are. You can't have a code that only covers every house that looks alike. And there are a couple of houses that don't, so they get special choices. The houses on Griffin Boulevard, a lot of those houses are set way back. If you allow this house because they have a very large front yard, then change it so that all the houses on Griffin can enjoy having their dogs run free. The thing that I find very upsetting listening to this is the fact that every morning when I pass that house, there is one construction project after another. You have an architect. There is no way that a contractor, anyone who installed this fence, or an architect did not know a permit was required beforehand. And doing this, to me, is saying, I'll pay the money for the fine, for the variance, whatever, because they're never going to make me take it down if I've installed it, because it's already up, so now it's after the fact. I think if you put that into the equation, that they've already spent this money on the fence, you're setting a very dangerous precedent, because you're telling people, go ahead, do whatever you want, as long as you have the money to pay the fines, we're going to accept it. And I don't think that's what you should be doing. Thank you.
Dr. Jonas?
No, no comment.
Ms. Mundy?
Okay, so forgive me as I struggle through because I took notes throughout. I wanted to say first that I love the idea of the creative landscaping that you brought up. I think not only does that improve the look of your house, but yes, it does make your front yard functional. I think that's a great idea and also could be used. Also, as a fellow homeowner, we bought a house 1030 Northeast 120th that was vacant for 5 years, was in shambles, was dilapidated as well. We have huge amounts of construction going on right now. We have put in so much money in permitting as well, and we're happy to do so because we're improving our look as well. I also have 2 dogs. I can relate to you with wanting them to run around. However, mine run around in the backyard. Unfortunately, that's just the way that the code is written. I agree with, what's your name? I'm sorry. Barbara. Barbara. I agree with Barbara. I don't think that, especially if permits were submitted throughout the duration of the construction and then all of a sudden a fence that goes up that's not allowed, there wasn't a permit done, and then after the fact we're trying to debate about it, isn't fair to the other homeowners, because if that gets approved, then where are we not to say, well, now I want a fence at my front yard, and everybody else in the park that now wants a fence as well. And I agree, you know, if I have the money to pay for the fine afterwards, then I'll put a fence up too, and that is what it is. I think that as homeowners, we need to be responsible and review the codes, submit permits before building and installing anything. I think a white picket fence, which again is not properly displayed in this picture as to what they do have, I think that's a very cute all-American look. However, it's not the look of Biscayne Park in your front yard. You know, I don't think that this property meets the 4 points that it needs to, and with the variance being granted without it meeting the 4 points, it allows all the other fellow homeowners to do the same thing. You know, my neighbors are all extremely happy with all of our home improvements as well, but there are certain things that we want to do to our house that are not allowed in the code, and just because our neighbors sign a piece of paper saying that they like it doesn't mean it's going to be granted either. I think that if you have 4 boxers, they can enjoy the backyard as much as our dogs enjoy our backyard, and that the Village of Biscayne Park needs to maintain the image that they've set. And I just don't think that if it's approved that it's fair, and I agree it's also opening Pandora's box to a bunch of other homeowners that want to do the same thing. And then if you grant a fence variation, then variations are going to extend way past just the fence. There will be variations in every aspect of the code as well. And then it's unfair not to be granted. And that's all I have to put in.
Thank you. I believe that covers everyone that was sworn in. I'm sorry, sir.
I just would like to emphasize that. Remember that this is the only property that is built way back. This is not just the normal property. If you see this property, it's built really beyond the property line of the other properties that are side of JR's property. They end right in front of my house. That's where the piece of land ends. So this property is way back that I can really request and build an addition in front of my property, and then my house will become my back property. Then I can put a fence right on the line of my front or the addition to this property. So then, what are we doing?
Excuse me, I also want to add that my backyard,
into the microphone.
I welcome all the commissioners to come to my backyard, and the view that I have is unbearable. There's a house behind my house that it's totally dilapidated, and this is the view that I have. So in order for me to enjoy my house, I have to sit in the front because I cannot sit in the back. And I welcome any one of you to come to my backyard.
If I might ask either you or the gentleman that's the architect,
Yes.
if you could explain, I believe there were questions up here in regard to why, if all the other permits were pulled, why the fence permit was not pulled when the fence was first being considered or erected. What was the rationale, or what occurred that stopped? If all of this construction has occurred and you pulled all the other permits as necessary, why wasn't the permit for the fencing pulled at the time of the initial installation of said fence.
Into the microphone.
If you can go, thank you, sir.
There was no malice for us to stop doing that. We did not think of. I guess there's a mistake. One person make a mistake, and we didn't get a permit before the erection of the fence. That's the only thing.
Okay,
Yes.
so it was a...
Yeah, we made a mistake.
It's an oversight, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. The people that put in the fence, were they licensed?
Yes, the contractors, yes.
Do they work in Miami-Dade? Do they work in Miami-Dade County?
Yes.
Miami-Dade County
correct, yes.
requires permits.
Yeah, I understand.
So if they were licensed, they work in Miami-Dade County, they know you have to have a building permit.
Yeah, I understand, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions at this time?
Just one question. The two fences, they seem to be two different fences and of two different fence material. They're not the same. The bump out. When did the second fence that bumps out into on the side yard, when was that put in?
No, the rest of the fence is the same type. It's the same, exactly what you see there. It's just that
Yes, sir, if you can.
It looks different to me.
the rest of the fence is the same exactly what you see there. Is the only thing is that extends a little bit to the front because I have an RV there and that's where it's parked. And I have the RV since I moved to Biscayne Park back in October last year. So my RV is there. Now I have my RV back in there and all I'm doing is protecting my property. And the reason why I requested it to put the fence there is to start protecting the construction. There is a lot of property outside, and also my house. There was no really a protection, and the house is built all the way in the back. So I wanted to make sure that no one is going to break into my house because it's all the way in the back. No one can see on the front. You can walk in the front and you can't even see what's going on back there. But it's the same type of fence. There's no different than that one.
It looks very different to me. And so the RV is much forward. It's not at the line of the house. It's in front of
No, it's in front. It would never fit on behind my house line. It's behind the property line, yes, but not behind my house. It will never fit my RV.
And were there, it seems to me, there were some sort of canvas structures that you've got in the back of the house, in the backyard?
Excuse me?
Is there like a gazebo or something that you've got back there that's...
Oh, I have a jacuzzi there. And then I have is a little tent that it's been used just to protect the equipment for the people that are working in construction.
Okay.
Just for the rain and all that. They remove once they're done. I believe right now they're working on the roof. Mm-hmm. We have submitted a permit to change the top of the property, because we're going to put barrel tile on top of the roof. That's what the submission of asking for the permit, it's been done. We have I think a hearing on the 10th to get an approval so we can change the entire front face of the house.
Commissioner Ross and then Commissioner Cooper.
I have a question, and I'm glad this diagram is up there now. There's a white 6-foot white fence on the western property line. Is that the neighbor's 6-foot fence, or is that part of this construction?
It was just replaced. They used to have a chain link fence, and it was replaced now. The chain link fence was removed, and then the white fence was.
Is that yours or is that your neighbor's?
No, it's my both house. Where is JR?
JR.
Yeah. We share the construction of that fence. Yeah.
But I guess my question is, that 6-foot fence, was that part of your installation? Because it's a different fencing material than what you have placed in the front.
It's the same material, is the PVC type of fence, but it's at 6 foot because it's for privacy. because he has a pool in the back and for his privacy, and also, no, I think it looks much better than
Okay.
the
It's a di-
chain link that was there.
It appears to be a different design than what you have put into the front.
Yeah, on the front, I would not put a 6-foot fence, and I'll be blocking the entire my house.
Okay.
So that's why this is just a decorating fence that I have in front.
Thank you. I have a question of the attorney. The materials that were given to us have the 4 points, and it says no variance shall be recommended unless the board finds 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are inclusive? We must find each of those? All of them?
Right, you must find, for example, the planning and zoning board found that 3 were not met, 1 was. You must find all 4 to be met. And that's a question of fact uniquely for this commission to decide.
In order to approve?
Right. It can be conditioned as well, but it's uniquely for this commission. The legal question of whether or not it's a violation, it is in violation of 11.6.4 of your code. It's the variance process that you can have waived or not through a variance.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cooper? John, would you read the 4th point again for us, please?
It's right down here.
The 4 points, all of them?
The 4th point.
The 4th point is that the variance proposes the minimum variance, which makes possible the reasonable use of the property.
The minimum variance. Okay. I had a couple questions. One primarily, it was suggested that somebody could use shrubbery in front of the house and accomplish the same thing. I just wondered if the owners would be willing to plant shrubbery to basically conceal or aesthetically improve the look from the street. Would you be willing to do that?
Well, this decorating fence has, the way I requested to install it is it's 4 feet at the bottom that has gravel. And I requested gravel and I made it deep because since the property is all the way in the back, it gets lower. So the water, it was accumulating there. By doing this, of putting gravel 4 feet by the almost the entire width of the property, now the water is being able to drain a little bit faster so it doesn't accumulate. Since I have 2 feet in front of the fence, I'll be more than happy to plant something in front of the fence. It put type of plant that can hold the heat. But I have no problem. I don't have any issue. I'm trying to beautify the front of the property. Okay. And just to add some plant is really it won't be any costly. Okay. And I'll be willing to do that if that's the case.
Okay. I'll just make, I think, some comments at this point. When I look at special circumstances, it's clear to me, based upon past variances that this commission has passed, that it is a special circumstance, given the house is so far set back from the street. In fact, you know, arguments were made before the passing of the most recent fencing ordinance that the corner lot owners were not allowed to utilize their lot to the full potential. That was what I heard time and time again. I think we issued variances for those corner lots. From what I understand, that was the most frequently requested variance in the past. You seem to have a resident here who has some special needs. I clearly see the special circumstances as to its necessariness for property right. I think they've made a good case. I think that, you know, clearly their backyard is almost non-existent. Most people can sit in a backyard, and now the corner lot owners can sit in their fenced-in area, which does extend into the front yard, mind you. You did create an ordinance that allows a fence to project into a front yard. So I would ask for some consistency here. I think that they've made the case for the property right. Somebody wants to sit in their yard and have an expansive view. They don't have that in the backyard whatsoever, and I would say that that's comparable to those who have the corner lots. Not injurious. It seems to me that the residents who live in the area clearly support it. There are a few people who might walk by and look at this house off in the distance as it's set back in the lot and have a problem with it. But clearly it's not injurious to those who live near it. As to the minimum variance, I think that that's something that we would need to discuss a little bit further, but I see this person as being basically meeting clearly 3 of the requirements, and I'd like a little bit of discussion on the minimum variance aspect and maybe some more clarity from the attorney on that, because it's really not clear to me, honestly.
On the minimum?
Yeah.
It's still a question of fact, as you decide whether or not they have a reasonable use of the property. And if you determine, for example, that they do not, and given it, in this case, let's say this fence went all the way up to the front.
Okay.
You may say, well, wait a minute, that's X amount of feet. I think the minimum to allow it, once you made that finding that it's a reason, it needs to be done for reasonable use of the property, is X, and that really comes down to you as elected officials and people who live in this village of what a reasonable use is in this.
So that seems like the most subjective criteria, or it's fairly subjective. We look at the drawing here, and on a percentage basis to this rather sizable lot, it's a relatively small area that they're asking to be fenced. So from what you've just said, I think this resident clearly meets all 4 criteria, and I hope that the commission can see the same, especially since we've been so generous to our corner lot residents in the past, and I don't see much difference, honestly. And in fact, I see this as less injurious to the overall aesthetics of this village. We fenced off our corner lots. Our corner lots once defined the openness of this village. As you drive around it, that's what Griffin imagined for this place. Okay, this lot is clearly atypical. If we made a more radical decision in terms of allowing fences into the front yards of corner lots, then we would be making tonight to approve this resident's request for this smaller fence in the front yard of a lot that has the house set way back in the back. So I'm going to support this variance, and I hope that the rest of my commissioners consider doing that as well. Thank you.
I really believe that when somebody goes ahead and does something without even bothering with a permit, especially when they've already been doing this and used a contractor who works in this county, that contractor knows that they have to have a permit. I just wonder what they were trying to do. The other thing is like Brian's talking about on corner lots, that we allow a bump out. Well, the bump out that we allow on corner lots on special cases is 15 feet. I'm looking here, you got a fence put in there, and your bump out from the fence that's there is 41 feet. Now, nobody in this village can go ahead and have a motorhome in the front and allow to put a fence around that motorhome. You want a fence around the motorhome, you got to figure out how to put it in the back. If you can't put it in the back, you can keep it in the front as long as you get grandfathered in, or you have to store it someplace. I think we're just opening up major problems. So I just don't see that this is something we need to go forward with at all.
Commissioner Watts, Commissioner Ross.
I sympathize with your desire to have a fence, but I can't support your application. I think too that you should think about your boxers. Boxers, I did research on it. I used to have a boxer. I love them. They're wonderful dogs. They are difficult to train in my experience, but they are jumpers and climbers. And if you go on the websites, all the boxer websites recommend a 6-foot fence. So I don't know that necessarily your desire for the safety of your dogs will be served by your 4-foot fence. Again, I think that the bump out is just, with the SUV or whatever the kind of a thing is just does not fit or suit the park. There are other houses that are set back, And I suggest you look at 710 Northeast 117th Street, which is also a setback. It's one of the oldest houses in the park. And that owner was upset that he couldn't put in a fence, but then did beautiful landscaping to completely shield it off so that there's almost no way that someone could get through there. And it's lovely and beautifully done. I'm sorry, but I just cannot support this.
I want to thank you for moving into our village and improving a property that had been empty for quite a while. It looks like you're doing a very commendable job of it. Now that Commissioner Watts mentioned that property, it comes to mind that there's a property on Griffin Boulevard that has practically a football field in the front yard, and all they have out there are palm trees. So that property is also set way back. There are probably special circumstances affecting this property, but I don't believe that they rise to the level of depriving reasonable use of the land, and that is what we're required to find. I wish that I could approve your application because you seem very passionate about it, and unfortunately, it just does not fit in with what we have approved for the rest of the village, and it would be unfair for the other property owners who may want to have that condition at their properties as well.
I want to point out that my dogs are not loose if I'm not there. So using, let's say, if I cannot open my door, because then through the fence they will go out. So I cannot open my front door because if they go out, they can go to the street and get killed. So that's what you want. The trucks is not going to be sufficient. So you're blocking me from being able to even open the door. If they want to walk out, I'm going to be obstructed, and then I'm going to be a prisoner in my house. I can't believe this. I mean, a 4-foot fence that is few feet from the front of my house, and you're giving me a hard time. I can't believe it. And the shrubs is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. So how fast is the shrub going to grow? Because it's not that you're going to plant something that's going to grow immediately. So I'm going to leave my dog inside my house. They can't even run outside. I mean, it's unreal.
John, I have a question through the mayor. Since it seems that there's clearly 3 people up here that are going to vote against the residents, can this resident come back after the election with a new commission and apply for a variance again, or is that a problem?
If it's the exact same case, it's been heard here, so it would have to be a change at some level to come back normally.
Okay. So keep that in mind. It seems that you will not get your variance tonight, but I suggest you take activism here in our village and try to make changes at election time, and you might get what you're looking for.
No, that's for sure. Yeah, to the commissioners that are being negative to these requests, I would love that if you're being negative, give us something positive. What is it that you would suggest for us to do so we can protect our property the way we want? Do you want us to just plant some trees, small trees in front of the house? Is that what I can replace the fence for?
It's been mentioned by a couple of the commissioners that dense shrubbery has been used as a fencing alternative. I'm not entirely certain, but I can imagine putting dense shrubbery around those fences might allow you to have that shrubbery in front of the fence so as to allow for the imagery, and that's an issue where that would, in that case, create a new set of circumstances that might allow you to reapply. What I would tell you is, first of all, thank you for coming in, and thank you for improving your house, as we all encourage the entire community to do. I find it unfortunate that we have a loose dog problem periodically in this village, and here we have residents who are trying to accommodate that issue, not only for the benefit of their own family, but also for the benefit of the village. We have willing and ready residents who are looking for any way to properly protect themselves and their family or property depending on how you look at pets. I personally think of them as family, but according to the law, they're property. They're eager to do what we all ask all of our residents to do, which is to improve their part of the village. And yet I've got a number of commissioners and residents who say one thing one month and a different thing the next month because it's the benefit of whatever constituency they're working to impress. Now, here I am as...
Where are we going with this? Yeah.
Excuse me. You had your chance. You chose not to speak. It's my turn. If you'd like to leave, you can leave.
Talk about something that makes sense.
Okay. Here's what makes sense.
Makes sense to me, Gary.
You all did what you need to do to improve your property. What I would encourage is you come back in 3 months with a new set of circumstances, and then hopefully we'll have a different construction of the commission so as to allow you to do what you can to both appreciate your property and benefit the village, which you're already trying to do.
With no permit?
At this point, what I would like to ask, if it's possible, if I plan, because I know that it takes a while for the plan to ingrow and to make it look like a fence and to protect the property, I can plant all those plants in front of my fence, but I would like to keep the fence there. So in the meantime, you're going to see anybody walking on the outside, all they're going to see is plants in front of the fence, which it will not harm anyone who feels that just a fence that is 150 feet behind the property line, it's harming them. All they're going to see is plants. I'm the only, my family are going to be the only ones seeing that fence inside the house.
That issue is not in front of the commission at this time. The only issue in front of the commission at this time is the request for a variance in regard to the fence.
Again, since that is negative, I will plant that.
I'm not willing to entertain any motion in that regard at this time. I appreciate the idea, however.
All right.
At this time,
I'll remember
everyone's
this
had a
for
chance to speak. Can I get a vote on this variance, please?
We need a motion first. I don't think there's been a motion.
I move to support the residents' request for this variance.
I've got a motion in regard to supporting the residents. I'll second that motion at this time. Everyone's had a chance to speak. We've heard from all witnesses. Can I get a vote on this matter? I want a roll call, please.
Commissioner Watts?
No.
Commissioner Ross?
No.
Vice Mayor Anderson?
No.
Commissioner Cooper?
Yes.
And Mayor Jacobs?
Yes. Motion fails 3-2. Moving on to item Thank you. Moving on to item 12A.
It's tough decision to make.
2013-46.
You want me to read the resolution, Mayor?
Commissioner Ross, it's yours. If you'd like to introduce.
Certainly. This is a resolution following up with the workshop that we had a couple of weeks ago. This is a resolution. Ross, the attorney, if you could please read the title of it. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, authorizing the village manager to engage municipal planners to collect data, prepare necessary reports, and a formal application for submission to Miami-Dade County to annex into the Village of Biscayne Park an area referred to as Biscayne Corridor Annexation Area. Bordered on the west side by the FEC Railway, on the north side by the northeast 121st Street, on the east side by Biscayne Boulevard, on the south side by northeast 119th Street, except that between northwest 16th Avenue and Biscayne Boulevard, The south border shall extend to the point where Northeast 16th Avenue and Biscayne Boulevard intersect near 116th Street, and to implement a plan for public engagement of property owners of the Biscayne corridor annexation area, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. So for people who were here at the workshop, we had a lot of discussion and a lot of questions, and there's still admittedly questions that are not answered, but they are questions that will be answered through the process, and that's how we would get here. We all know about the finances, having just gone through the budget in great detail. We all know about the 2012 audited financial statements that are on our website, where our auditors reported earlier this month the village's declining financial position. We all know earlier this month we also approved an ordinance to dip into reserves to cover $67,000 of negative fund balances. We all know the constitutional cap of 10 mils, and we are at presently 9.7 for the coming year, 2013-14. The assessed values in the village bring, for each mill of taxes levied, approximately $132,000 for 1 mill. That same 1 mill in the area that we are considering would produce an additional $64,000 based on the current assessed values, nearly half of the village's assessed values, bringing a combined mill revenue for tax levied of $198,000. Other unincorporated areas that are adjacent to the village are substantially less dynamic and have much less to offer the village aside from this Biscayne corridor. The area brings us closer to US 1, Biscayne Boulevard. It includes retail areas that are frequented by our village residents. It includes 2 gated communities, one of which advertises itself in its promotional materials as being in Biscayne Park. Taking this next step today to approve this resolution is an investment in the village, in the future of the village, and in the future of the neighboring community to the east. The materials that are attached to my resolution and my agenda memo remind us, and I always travel under the assumption that my colleagues have read all the village documents and understand the history of the village and its planning documents, but the attachments to the memo remind us that the village planning documents, our comprehensive plan, includes a discussion of annexation. And it was when we went through the EAR process several years ago, actually there was another commission sitting here. There were other commissioners sitting here who made that decision. And they made the decision based on information provided by residents and based on information provided by our professionals. And they moved forward with an EAR that incorporated into our comprehensive plan the potential for annexing, and there was a priority at the time, there was a priority placed on the very same area that we're discussing, or the very same area we're discussing today is a portion of the priority that was expressed back then. The process that they took included multiple public hearings and participation. It included the 8, 9, possibly 10 different hearing dates spanning from January of 2007 until through October of 2010. So this isn't an idea that was just hatched last month. It wasn't just hatched last year. I didn't hatch it. I wasn't even sitting here at the time that these things were being developed. And they were being developed back then, even back then, they were being developed as a way of helping to make the village a sustainable municipality. annexation now comes as it becomes a topic of discussion today because of inside pressures and outside pressures that we are experiencing. The loss of significant revenue over the last 5 years that amounted to about 30% of our ad valorem taxes. The economic forecast for municipalities I shared with my colleagues, and was attached to a prior agenda item. The forecast that was presented by Ken Small from the League of Cities, where he calculates that statewide trends he calculates statewide trends predicting that it'll take another 4 years before statewide taxable values reach the values that we had 4 years ago in 2009. And for the Village of Biscayne Park being entirely residential, majority of which are homesteaded properties, that catch-up will be delayed even further because of the 3% cap that we have on our assessed values. Miami-Dade County recently lifted the moratorium on incorporating and annexing areas, and it created an environment for cities, municipalities to expand their boundaries and for other unincorporated areas to incorporate themselves and sort of be able to self-rule and determine local issues. On top of an additional burden that we have as a city are the unfunded mandates enacted by the legislature. We had experienced one last year when there was a change in the added senior exemption on homesteaded properties. If we wanted to maintain what we had for our seniors, we couldn't just keep it at the level where we had it. We had to increase it pursuant to the state mandate. It wasn't our decision to make. The potential, added to that is also the potential that another municipality is looking to expand its boundaries and encompass the area of interest for our village. If we stand by and allow these processes to overtake us, we will be overwhelmed. And I want to do everything in my power to make sure that we are a sustainable city. We talk about the perils of monoculture. We talk about it in our trees, in our tree inventory. We look to diversify and we encourage city plantings and private plantings to be of multiple varieties. I used to open our commission meetings recognizing the diversity that flavors our community and enriches our deliberative process here. And we see again and again that diversity adds strength and sustainability. We need to diversify our tax base if we want to keep ourselves going forward as a city. And as an elected official representing this city, it's one of the things that I swore to do when I took an oath, was to defend this city. For many of these reasons, it's our responsibility to continue this dialogue, to engage the county, to move forward towards a plan of annexation. And yes, I agree, there are still things that need to be answered, but they'll be answered in the process. The process of developing the reports and gathering the data. Our planner is here and he can help us go into more detail about what that process is going to entail. That is the way that we flush all the information out and present it. I saw an email from someone today who I guess didn't understand that in order to get the data collected, we have to engage our planners to do it. And the way that we engage our planners to do it is to bring an agenda item forward and discuss it here, approve the engagement, and that's, you know, bringing transparency to the process. I don't see any other way of doing it. So I make a motion that we approve this resolution number 2013-46, authorizing the manager to engage our planners and proceed in the process.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it because I know there's going to be a lot of commission discussion on this.
There's already been a good deal of discussion in relation to annexation, so I'm going to suggest that commissioners get 5 minutes per person to discuss this at this point, understanding that Commissioner Ross has already spoken at length. I would ask that she stay at least within the 5 minutes, if not, be as close to it as possible.
Do we want to have a presentation from our planner first?
Yeah. Just to answer your questions, basically.
Commissioner Cooper?
Well, I think a lot of talk has already occurred in prior meetings. We're reiterating things. I would hope that we could reduce it to 3 minutes for each commissioner at this point in time.
I'm going to stick by my 5, although I hope that people take their advice with understanding. Anything further? Okay. Commissioner Anderson?
I want to ask our planner a question.
Okay.
The reason why I'm waiting is for our planner to be able to go ahead and answer where everybody can hear.
Can we come back to you? Can we come back to the planner?
I think he's ready now, right?
Oh.
Yeah, I have a lot of stuff here, so I just wanted to get settled.
Okay, the question I have, I know North Miami is has put an application in, or they're putting an application. Do you know what area that they're putting an application for?
They have many applications out there, but the one that impacts us is...
I left it behind my computer.
What I'm referring to is the area that what we're looking at.
As of last week, I was at North Miami trying to get some information. Okay. And as of last week, the city staff submitted to the county for this area. The annexation report was submitted for all the commercial along Biscayne Boulevard.
So they're because we've been talking about on the workshop cherry picking.
Yes.
And but our cherry picking's including people that are in rental area. What they're looking at is excluding those people and just cherry pick only the commercial.
Correct. And
leave that other area that's, I guess, in brown out there.
Yes. Initially, they did have a larger area coming down here and crossing the boulevard because, you know, the old Bank of America building that was on the east side that's vacant?
Yes.
I think that's in the city, but just directly to the south is unincorporated or something like that. They were actually going farther east, almost to the water. They cut everything back to just that area for now.
So our application, in theory, we could say is cherry picking, but their application is cherry picking.
More so.
And more so.
Yeah.
Well, so really, as far as using the word cherry picking, if we continue going forward, the county will be looking at either one of them, both of us are cherry picking, except for we're putting a few people
Right. I mean, you know, this is a very small area. Remember, it's only 46 acres, but it's pretty diverse for such a small area because you have, you know, the businesses along Biscayne Boulevard. You have offices, you have multifamily residential, and then you have in the blue what's considered industrial.
Excuse me, Mr. David. Is your mic on? It's not.
A bit closer.
Is that the same mic
Closer.
you were having problems with?
I'll get closer.
That's better.
I always
Thank you. I'm sorry.
have that problem. So really, this is a little bit more diverse than what they're going after right now.
Okay, that was my question.
Okay.
I was speaking with a member of the Miami Commission, the County Commission, earlier today. Have we explored all of the information that we can with them to get as much data from them in regard to this area?
I mean, I believe so as of today. Again, you know, we've not submitted any application, anything formal, and during that process, there's a lot of information that each department of the county is required to submit to the annexation and management and budget?
I would urge, if possible, and I would like to follow up this, and I plan to follow up this motion with another motion urging our administration to reach out to the commission so that if they're able to, they might assist with information that wouldn't cost us money and work with us to see what's available. I've had a commissioner reach out to me who has said that the commission has information and we want to make sure we're getting as much bang for our buck. We talk about saving money here and there and doing what we can. My big concern about this resolution, and one thing that I would need change to support it, is right now the very last line of the budgetary impact is that it's open-ended. It says, from the last line of fiscal budgetary impact, the approved budget for fiscal year 2014-15 allocates, I'm correcting there, $10,000 that could be expanded for this purpose, and additional funds may be reallocated if necessary. My concern is that we argue over every $100 purchase in the village, and yet we're going to create an open-ended process that who knows how many thousands of dollars. And if I've got commissioners reaching out saying that they want to help us as best they can and give us information for free, rather than expending village resources to do it, I would hope that this commission, if we're going to look at this annexation, would at least reach out in every way possible to use as many resources that do not cost us revenue as possible. And that's my concern, is that right now it does not have a definite dollar value attached to it. It has $10,000 is already slated, and it could be more, and we don't know if it's going to be successful. Before we designate any more than we already have, I would ask that we reach out to every resource possible as a community so that we can get all of the free assets that we can get, all the support we can get, so that we can get all the information we can get for the least amount of cost to the village. And as a fiscally responsible commission, as we claim to be, I would ask that at least as a follow-up to this resolution, if not a replacement to this resolution, I would ask that we urge the administration to reach out as soon as possible in that regard to our commissioners on the Miami County Commission, because they're the ones that inevitably do have a significant say in this matter. Commissioner Watts and then Commissioner Ross will have the last word.
Oh, okay. I would like a little bit more information. Have you the numbers for what our income would be if we were to just request an annexation of only the commercial areas? And exclude, as North Miami has in their application, the 2 rental properties?
No, I did not do that. I could very quickly, well, I mean, the total, I'd have to take out Altamira and Bay Winds.
Yes. And then also...
And then all the industrial you're saying, which is the boat, Lawrence Kids Ocean Collision, industrial, the barricade place, there's a mini, industrial building, and...
Just to keep the commercial, but not the 2 apartment buildings.
The commercial properties are not directly contiguous to us without those centerpieces.
And that's an argument against, I mean, North Miami is contiguous to that location. Mm-hmm. We have an argument if we're taking, where's the fourth? Oh, behind. this is more arguable for us. If you're leapfrogging over blocks, you know, of property, that I don't think that would sit so well with staff or the commission. So I mean, that's my opinion. It's almost like creating an enclave in an enclave or something.
And do you have in your estimates of how much money income we would gain from this, you include telephone communications tax and all the franchise fees, and that's not a guarantee by any means. So
that's our best estimate, and that's why, you know, typically I don't put those in any document, and I've done 20 of these or whatever I've done. You know, I like to compare apples to apples. And
every revenue we've showed you has just been for the ad valorem.
Right.
Okay.
Those would just be a bonus.
Right. Those are icing on the cake.
After negotiations.
Right.
We never get them. All right. All right. I have talked with our commissioner, and there seems to be a possibility of cherry picking, even though it doesn't sound.
I would rather not use that word in public. I mean, just because, you know.
It's like sinkholes.
Looking at more specific areas. Or
Okay, well, that we might be able to go forward with just the commercial properties. I think we might be throwing our money away to have an annexation proposal that would include Altamira and Bay Wind. I don't really see that we offer them so much that they even, despite the fact that they may use Biscayne Park as their address, I don't see what we can really offer them that would induce the residents to vote in favor of annexation. And I think that were that the case, we would then expend, what was it, $40,000 and the money for the election, and it would be just money thrown down the tubes. So I think that's a problem. That's something we have to think about. And I would be interested in getting learning the statistics as to what the cost would be or what our income would be just with the commercial, and defer making a formal application until we have a little bit more information.
Commissioner Ross.
I don't believe Commissioner Cooper has spoken yet.
I'll let Ross go, and then I will speak. Thank you.
You spoke first, so go ahead, and then he'll speak.
I'd like to close it up since it's my item.
It's fine. You opened it. You can speak now if you want to speak.
Oh, may I just say add one thing?
Quickly.
Okay, quickly. And also, I think, too, as much as the sort of doom and gloom, the sky is falling, we are going to go bankrupt argument, we have to remember, too, that our reserves have gone down in the last few years because we've had unusual expenses due to workers' comp claims during the period when Biscayne Park was self-insured. Most of those, I think all but one, are really cleared up, so I think that our reserves will grow in the next few years, along with the growing economy. So, and actually, there is a possibility that we can get from the Commissioner's office some statistics as to the income from that small corridor, albeit small, but between Miami-Dade and, between the bridge and Miami Shores.
I mean, they can direct their staff through the mayor's office to gather more information. I mean, I have to go through staff, and they're very willing to help me, but it's always good to have a commissioner speak on your behalf.
Okay, well, I've spoken with the commissioner, and I think we could all speak and ask for that additional information that would not be an undue cost.
Right. I would just, I mean, there's a lot of information in every staff report that the county the county staff puts together. It's multiple departments. So if you have specific information, a specific question, keep it to that point, because like I said, there are many departments that are involved in drafting these staff reports at many different levels. So, and I just wanted to tell you before I forget, next week I'm at County Commission, the Land Use Subcommittee, for 4 annexations. So if anyone's at the county building, at 9:30 next Thursday the 10th, the Land Use Subcommittee of the Commission will be taking up 4 annexations. And one is very, very similar to ours. It's the city of West Miami. The city of West Miami has about just under 6,000 people. The annexation area has 700 residents, and I think it's 64 acres. So, and it's a bit diverse, so it's fairly similar. That's just one of the 4. And that's basically the third step in the process.
Commissioner Ross?
I would appreciate speaking last on this item, as it is my item coming forward.
Yes,
And that
sir.
way I could answer all of the comments and questions that are raised by other commissioners.
You can answer whatever questions and comments have occurred already. You had first chance to speak. This is your last chance to speak.
I'd like to ask our planner, Mr. David, Commissioner Watts mentioned spending 40,000 something on the application process. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
No, 4,000 on the application process, $3,995, were in my notes from the workshop.
Is that the application fee you're talking about?
I've just, application, advertising, planners. Was the number that you gave us at the workshop.
Okay. $3,995.
$995.
So it's not 40,000, it's 3,900.
Right. I mean, yeah, the application fee is the county fee.
And so that's the $3,995.
If that's the right, I'll have to check that.
Okay.
I think.
And then the election,
excuse me, I may have said that, but that may have been another application. I have it in the original document for.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Let me correct that. The actual application fee at the county is based on acreage. For this case, it's $2,565.
$3,000?
No, $2,565. If I said $3,990, that's probably another application I'm looking on.
And then the election fee, I have something written down, but I think I wrote it wrong. $7,500 or
I have no idea.
The fee for the amount of money for the election. Okay. Something else down there. Okay, sorry.
I had approximately $7,500 for an election.
That's what I had written down. Yeah.
If I may proceed then?
Absolutely.
So we're talking about spending $2,500. And what this resolution is asking is to engage the professionals so that they can gather the data, prepare the necessary reports, documentation, and a formal application to be submitted. There's another step in a process by which the application would get submitted with a further resolution of this commission. What this resolution is asking for is to gather the data, to prepare, to get all of the information necessary and complete an application. It's not even asking to actually expend the application fee. I hear that there are a lot of questions, and the only way that we're going to answer those questions is by going through this process, the very process of completing an application and is gathering that data. And it's also the process by which we express to the commission, hey, we're here, we have an interest, we're looking at this for our viability, for the sustainability of this village. We've been having this little discussion among ourselves for months, maybe a year.
15, I counted.
15 months.
The notice to proceed was last
And we haven't
August.
formally said to the county, whatever else is going on out there, look at us, because we have a need and we have an interest in this property. We can spend another 6 months, getting information and reviewing information. We're going to have to pay for our planners to get it for us, and that's going to be an expenditure. But we're not going to put our foot in the door and say, county commissioners, we are a community, we are a city in your county, and we have a stake here. There are other applications going forward in the meantime. And as I point out, other areas that could be adjacent to us and may be of interest are not going to bring the same level of benefit that this area is going to bring. I appreciate Commissioner Watt's concern for the apartment dwellers in those 2 gated communities and not wanting to impact them, but if we exclude that land, our application will be weakened substantially, and I don't think would be looked upon favorably by the county commission. So to address Mayor Jacobs' concern about spending money and maybe instead trying to gather some more data by begging favors from county staff is not going to get us where we need to be. And, by the way, it's also a little less transparent than engaging our planners to do the work and bring the reports back here so that everyone can see what we're doing. There was a question about, I think Commissioner Watts was saying franchise fees and utility fees. And at the annexation workshop, I believe our planners were forced to misspeak. And could you clarify that for us?
We were, the question was, the discussion was concerning, I think, utility fees, and I was thinking FP&L franchise fees, and when would that, when would a franchise be turned over to the city, to the village?
Microphone.
Sorry. And I said 28 years, which basically is incorrect because 2 years ago the village approved the franchise agreement with FP&L. I believe it was about 2 years ago. So your franchise agreement with FP&L is 28 years remaining, I believe.
You were forced to misspeak.
Well, I did not understand the question.
Accidentally misspoke. You weren't forced to misspeak. Is that correct?
No, I misunderstood the question.
Okay.
So we were talking about utility fees and franchise. But anyway, what would happen with, in the case of FP&L, the county's agreement with FP&L has remaining under 10 years. So at that time, when it's up for renewal, and if we are successful with this annexation, the franchise, that part of the agreement would come, that area would come to Biscayne Park. So their franchise agreement would be amended to take out this area.
Is that a certainty, or is that something subject
No,
to
that's what that's the case.
So that clarifies the 28 years. Also, Mr. Mayor, you were talking about the agenda memo saying that there's a certain amount allocated this fiscal year and other funds could be moved if necessary. But that's not a part of the resolution. That is only my explanation of the fiscal impact. So I'm not asking anybody to vote on that right now. What we're asking to vote on is engage the professionals to gather the data and prepare the application. And
is there a set figure that's a top limit? Is there an absolute number that's a cutoff for this process?
Yes, when I asked our planners like a couple of weeks ago, what is the next step? A resolution authorizing them to proceed to prepare the report, which is what this reso asks. He quoted me 25 hours. Which equates to $3,125.
And what happens if he goes to hour 26?
It's another $125.
Is he obligated to stop at hour 25?
We never charge, when we have contracts, we don't go over, we never have.
I'm asking you, are you obligated to stop at hour 25?
No. I would never do that. I would never do that.
Then it's open-ended.
Professionally, I would never do that.
Then it's open-ended.
I think he used his best judgment, having done so many reports,
okay.
that he approximated 24 hours.
I appreciate the approximation. There is no top limit. It can go over that 25 hours.
For professional services, then you have other costs. I have to get GIS, there are other issues, so.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I appreciate what you do and the amount it costs you and the amount your services are worth. I am simply saying that this specific memorandum and resolution does not have a cutoff for financial impact.
And I'm fine with putting a cutoff in, whatever you agree to. I'm just telling you, a lot of work, let me just be honest, a lot of work has been done. Okay. It's a lot of updating.
Okay.
Because I've done a lot of the, I have a lot of the information gathered. It's just out of date. It's just
the resolution as it stands does not have a cutoff. A fiscal cutoff. I'm simply looking at what was put in front of me. Commissioner Ross?
I'll come back to that comment in just
Okay.
1 second, but I also wanted to respond to Commissioner Watts. And I also received, actually, former Commissioner Bernard's email was forwarded to me by a concerned resident. And he brought up the discussion about the workers' compensation issue and how the village used to be self-insured, but that was years ago, and in his estimation, the matter shall be cleared up. But there's some information that wasn't provided in that email by Commissioner Bernard. And, well, I only bring it up because that was exactly the point.
Okay.
The problem with the workers' compensation issue is, for a period of time, the village was self-insured. And then subsequently, it turned out to be not such a good deal, and we went out and procured insurance for our workers' compensation. The claims, the medical issues that arose in that period of time when the village was self-insured are continuing in nature. And as we age, and as those employees, some former, some present, age, those conditions get accelerated and exacerbated. The village is responsible for that obligation going forward. It is not eliminated just because we now have insurance for the current and future claims that can come. So our obligation to those employees is still there and will go forward. And I'll ask staff to confirm that if I'm...
Absolutely correct.
And how many?
There are two. One of them is major, the heart-lung issue.
I know.
We approximate 10 to 12,000 a year, not counting 2 years ago when there was a major operation that was needed, which cost us 60,000.
Thank you.
So, you know, as those people age, they served us, and now we have to serve them. That's our obligation. We can't just drop them. I am, in order to give the mayor some level of comfort, I'm happy to put some language into another section, paragraph that would somehow put a cap on the work to be done up to completing the application, if Mr. David could give us his best estimate.
Yeah, that's typical. What we typically, what we do is, a not to exceed amount of whatever, and that is up to me taking the documents, 3 copies, well actually I make 5, but 3 copies and resolutions and submittal letters to the county clerk's office, to the Board of Harvey Rubin's office. So
I'm willing to accept the $10,000 as it stands, and that can be the cutoff right there.
I just have another question.
So is that including the application
That
fee,
should include
or
everything. The
Well, but
$10,000,
he's saying-
as far as I'm concerned, is going to include everything.
but not election?
Does not include election. Up to and prior to the election, I had approximately $9,000.
Okay, these are your costs. Remember, it's the report writing, public hearing, courtesy notices to owners of property within the proposed area for annexation and 600 feet outside. So those are the costs, that I want to make you aware of. So,
Mayor, what the resolution talks about is authorizing the village manager to engage municipal planners to collect data, prepare necessary reports, and a formal application for submission to Miami-Dade County. So that's what the resolution, not the election itself as currently written. It's to that level.
Is the election currently budgeted for?
No.
So where are we coming up with this $7,500?
That's going to be, this is where we have to squeeze money from something if we're going to continue. But up until then, if we can go ahead and at least get enough information to see, is the county going to go ahead and look at...
I'd be happy to continue this process if we direct the administration to work with the county to the best of their ability to see what information we can get at no cost or at little cost.
The only cost besides my cost, and like I said, I've done a lot of these, I have very good relationships with everyone at the county, and the only people who are charging me right now is elections to get a certified letter stating how many electors are in the area, and that's, you know, I don't know how they figure it, but it's between 85 and 110 or something.
So we've now gone from $3,900, which is what I heard from Commissioner Watts, to $17,500 at a minimum. Okay, because the $10,000 that's allocated for the upcoming year, and then the $7,500 for the election that's necessary because of the electors that are now in the area that we're talking about. And we argue about $100 or $200 for ink for a community printer.
I'm sorry, that's not correct.
What's not correct?
Nowhere in any of the estimates or calculations is $17,000. It's
Okay.
nowhere. I'm looking at our memo, and I would ask staff to clarify the list.
The approved budget for fiscal year 2014-15 allocates $10,000 that could be expended. That's the $10,000 from your own fiscal impact. I now ask the administration how much the election would cost, which we all agree is necessary because there are going to be enough electors, and they're telling me $7,500. $10,000 plus $7,500 is $17,500.
I'm sorry, if I could clarify that, or ask staff to clarify it. The $10,000 that we set aside on the budget, in the budget, earmarked for some of this.
Right, absolutely.
For advancing some of this, encompasses some of what you're describing. It's not adding another $7,000 on top of that.
Well, it is. I have up to $9,000 would be the planner, the application, submitting the report. If it goes to that step and it goes to the election, it would be an additional $7,500.
So $16,500.
Okay,
I apologize, I was off by 1,000.
But what we're talking about, this resolution, is just to go up to submitting it to the county. Am I correct? That's what
To prepare the application.
That's
Prepare.
so.
You
What
would
we're
have to
talking.
come back, normally you would have to come back here, a new resolution to submit the application.
Okay.
So we're going to spend more and more money without exploring all opportunities to lower our costs when we argue about every $100 that comes in front of us. I think that's absurd.
I think what I'm looking at is to go ahead and go up to what the clerk said, but obviously we'll be asking staff to work with our county commissioner to do whatever they can
And to be honest with you, I don't know what else you're asking us to ask for. We've got everything here. I was kind of confused at that request, Mayor, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I don't know what else to be asking for. We've gotten everything, all your questions answered. Now's the time to go to the next step and prepare this report.
Then I say we call for a vote then.
If I could ask the planner to clearly state for us what the process is and what process other cities follow when they are interested in annexing an area. We've been in discussion for 15 months, as he says, and we haven't made the first application to the county to tell them we're here and we're interested. Time is going to pass us by if we don't address this in a more formal and responsible manner.
I don't think an open-ended money pit is a responsible manner.
Okay, because we're talking also, okay, $3,125 for Mr. David's time, and including the fees. Then $2,565 for the application fee.
And there's also noticing of all the properties, which is about another $750 to $1,000.
And 600 feet radius.
Noticing all the
All that has to go in. All right, and this would include your formal application. How much more information is really needed for a formal application?
Well, this is a year old. I mean, you know, we have the format, and this is the format that there's some mapping and some stuff we have to correct, and I have to update everything, but this is the format that I submit to the county. And as I said, I've done many of these, and they like the format. It's easy to read. It follows the county code section by section. So I have that. It's just, as I say, updating. We have new numbers because we've been doing this for so long.
Well, I again would like to know what the income would be if we were to apply to annex just the commercial area and not the two real estate
Well, I mean,
buildings, because
I don't know exactly.
Because I don't, if we were to annex just the commercial area at present, then we would not have to pay $7,500 for an election.
Correct. You would.
That's correct.
You could remove that portion, but as Mr. David said, your chances, are
I was a board member.
lessened.
I know, but
it's a
talked
chance
with
that
the
you have to
commissioner,
take.
and she seemed to be on board with that idea.
I'm looking at this email that was provided to us back August 27th, and it says, met with David, and here's a summary of the steps that we need to take, and it itemizes some costs. I'm totaling these costs, $500, $3125, $750, $2565, to just under $9,000. And that takes us up to a ballot. That actually includes the application fee, and it takes us just prior to a ballot question if one is required by that time. 8815 is the investment that we're going to make in order to help our village become more sustainable. We've earmarked it in our budget already. We put aside $10,000. This is only $88.15.
You then put language in there that caps it at $10,000, which is what we already budgeted for this process.
Yeah, for this resolution, am I correct?
Then I propose
For all of these steps up to the ballot.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second to approve the resolution. I make a motion that we amend this resolution to include a paragraph right under Section 3, right above Section 3, that, and I'll ask our attorney if you could help me with some language so that it somehow says there's authorization up to $10,000.
Right, and it's not an ordinance, so it doesn't have to be drafted now, but just so the commission has a comfort level, it will basically say there will be a new Section 3. Section 3 will become Section 4, and it will say that the total cost for the processes outlined in this resolution shall not exceed $10,000. And then,
can you put in there that's already been budgeted, that's already within the current 2014 budget?
if the commission would like, absolutely.
Commissioner, would you do that? That's already been budgeted?
Which is already earmarked in the budget. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
Got it.
I would like the resolution to be amended to include that the planner will provide us with information as to the income from just the commercial property without the apartment.
Right. I mean, I could tell you right now, I'm just adding very quickly, it's $43 million out of, we were looking at a larger area of $60 million. It's about 43. I'm just doing a quick calculation. That's the taxable value, 2013 taxable value of the commercial properties from the office buildings all the way down to the Sterling Petroleum, which is the auto repair.
Okay.
Give or take $1 million, but close.
So if we could start with the first motion to amend, Commissioner Anderson?
I'll second that.
You accept the
Yes.
amendment?
Yes.
And Commissioner, do you want to make a separate motion to add yours?
Yes.
Let's take care of the first one first. All in favor of the First Amendment?
Aye.
Aye. No. Commissioner Watts?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1. In regard to the Second Amendment,
I believe, if I may, through the mayor, it sounds more like a request for information that we're asking our planner to provide us with that number, and I don't think it really belongs in this resolution.
But with consensus from the commission, Mr. David agrees to provide you that information.
Okay.
So we'll
we
give
have
you.
consensus.
Well, I'll have to, state
Commissioner
again,
Cooper?
I'm not comfortable with voting
Consensus
for
for that
annexation with
information?
the apartment buildings. So what may come to, we might spend the money, and I will vote against it.
We have consensus in regard to direction for that purpose.
Shall we take a vote now?
As amended, I presume since the second agreed to the amendment, we have a motion and a second. The resolution as amended, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Could we,
No.
could
Commissioner
it be
Watts?
read, could it be read one more time? What the,
Can you read the amended motion, please?
just to
The
be
amended
sure.
motion is not in writing. Remember, it's not an ordinance, so I have not drafted it. It's not required, but what it is going to say is, there'll be a new section 3, which will say that the cost of completing the process is articulated in this resolution, something like that, shall not exceed the $10,000, which has already been earmarked in the 2013-2014 village budget.
Let's try, Commissioner Watts, are you ready to vote?
Certainly.
Okay. All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
2-4. All opposed? Nay.
No.
Motion fails 3-2.
What?
It passes.
It failed. Watts voted against
Oh, I
it.
didn't hear
I'm
that.
just
Okay.
not comfortable. I really would like, I would be willing to vote for it if we have something in there to give possibility of a change, if we so choose not to ask to annex the entire area, which is stipulated in this amendment.
We can, this will come back to us, and we can at that time change the description, narrow it, focus it, readjust it, I suppose, but we'd have to expend more funds to, you know, amend the application or change the application before it's submitted. Here we are, after 15 months, finally, after 15 months of getting information from the county, data that is now outdated, finally coming to a vote to say, okay, we tested the waters, we tasted it, we put it on our list, it's fine, we're ready to take one step, one formal step closer to doing this. Something that has been in our planning documents since 2007, something that's even referred to in the visioning plan that Commissioner Cooper likes to refer to. We have become immobilized in this process. And if we don't step forward, if we don't allow our planners to put together what needs to be put together in order to take a next step and say, okay, we're happy with this or we're not happy with it, we're never going to move. We're never going to move forward, and as Commissioner Cooper has suggested, maybe we will cease to exist.
And we went ahead and changed this to accommodate the mayor saying he wanted to have a cap on there. So there's a cap on there.
I mean, we did go through the trouble to try to create consensus. We went through the trouble to try to satisfy everybody's needs.
It's nice that you actually tried to satisfy people that didn't agree with you. It happens every now and then. I urge that we work together to reach out to the commission in an attempt to fully understand what we can do and how we can proceed prior to investing another $10,000 so that we absolutely know what the process is, because I'd like to know it from the commission itself.
Mr. David, can you please describe to us the process that you've gone through in the last 15 months?
If your attempt is to filibuster this process, then you're doing a good job, because we spent another hour and a half on this.
In the last 15 months, Mr. David, you've gone to the commission, you've gotten information from the different departments, from the staff. Can you please describe that process to us?
Basically, I mean, I did an analysis based on the direction of the village, and that notice to proceed was in August of 2012. The original document was dated January 2013. That was the analysis of a larger area. We cut that back a bit. I did not amend this because it was in flux.
Could I just interrupt and ask staff, did you share that information with this commission when it was compiled?
The analysis was given, yes. Everyone did receive a copy of my analysis. We've had a few workshops on this, and it's been discussed a number of times. There's nothing else that I can do until I get direction from you to do an actual annexation report.
The data that you provided to us previously, was that data you received from the commission?
From the
Miami-Dade County Commission and
From the
staff.
county staff. I don't deal directly with the county commission. I deal with the annexation and, management and budget staff, and the RER, which is the planning department, and elections and other agencies.
In your experience, does the Miami-Dade County Commission or any Miami-Dade County Commissioner possess data different than the staff at Miami-Dade County?
No, what would happen is they would request data from county staff.
From the very same people who provided you this data?
Excuse me, if I understand it correctly, this motion has been voted on and failed 3-2, is that correct? Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Moving on to old business, 13A, village manager position, establish interview schedule.
If I could please, I'm sorry, if I could please...
It's already been voted on.
I would like the record to reflect how the vote was made and not just the 3-2 vote. If I could please have a roll call vote on that, and we'll have it for the record.
I would.
Oh my God.
I would be willing.
Yeah, it'd be more transparent that way.
Okay.
I think
Roll call vote.
Just a minute.
It's already been voted on.
This is not customary. There's no need for a roll call.
It's already done.
Mayor, please, let's move on.
Moving on to old business.
Commissioner Watts has a question.
Any number of
Commissioner
times
Watts
I've
has a
had a
question.
commissioner who says we spend too much dwelling on things. Well, now it's time to keep moving. 13A, village manager position.
I believe that there is some
I
doubt with the
appreciate that.
vote,
Thank you very
and
much.
Commissioner Watts has a question that she would like answered.
She'll get that she'll get that question answered once we're in village manager position. Thank you.
While we're still on this topic, I believe that Commissioner Watts deserves the respect of an answer to her question.
We're moving on to 13A. Thank
I
you.
object to your ruling on moving on, and I would like to
appreciate that.
conclude this topic
It's already been
with Commissioner...
concluded. It's been voted on 3-2.
I object to the ruling of the mayor, and I ask for a second.
Okay.
We really need to get.
It's nice to see that she wants to move forward.
I
13A,
object to the
village
ruling
manager
of the mayor,
position.
and I request a second.
I'm calling for recess. 5 minutes. Restarting this meeting, calling back into session. At this time, I'd like to give Commissioner Watts the floor. I was under the understanding that she hadn't been allowed to speak a specific question or concern.
All right, I just want to say that I had to vote against the proposal because I just still do not agree with going forward, making an annexation proposal that includes the 2 apartment buildings, Altamira and Bay Winds. I think that voters would vote against it, and I wouldn't be able to support the resolution for many reasons that I've mentioned in the past. If we were to just alter the recommendation or the proposal to exclude the 2 apartment buildings, Bay Winds and Alta Altamira, I would be willing to accept the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
If I could address that, Commissioner Watts. Can I suggest that we allow our planners to do their job and then to come back with their recommendation? I mean, the idea is allow them to compile the data and then come back with their recommendation for what would be a successful application to the county.
I don't want us to waste the money. If they come back and say that we must have those apartment buildings, I will probably vote against it unless they give me a compelling reason to do so. So it would be throwing the village's money away. That's my problem.
This motion's been voted on. It's been voted down 3-2. A different motion can be brought up next month, or a different concern related to the same issue can be brought up next month. But as I see it now, this motion is dead. Moving on to old business, village manager position. Okay, we're trying to establish an interview schedule. As I understand it, the manager reached out to each and every one of us and was unable to find a date that we could all meet on as far as interviewing is available to interview all at the same time in a round-robin format.
Correct. Based on the schedule, it would be very difficult to do that, and also the schedules have been provided by all of you.
What I'm going to suggest, and I'm open to suggestion from each and every one of you. We can work together to figure this out. I would suggest we reach out to each and every one of the potential candidates individually, and then come back at the November meeting on the 6th with our top 3. And then we put our names on the top 3 and we submit them to the village manager or staff, at which point they'll be tabulated. And then we'll come down to 3, and then I would like to schedule a special committee, a special commission meeting approximately a week later for the purpose of panel interviews.
Okay. No, I just want to be clear. What you're saying is, should we submit this to the clerk, or we submit it publicly at the November commission meeting?
We're going to. I would suggest we submit it publicly at the commission meeting because it's public.
Right. No, I just want to be. I just want to be
sure. We have to put our names on it so that everybody knows.
That's fine.
Okay.
So what we're doing is we're going to narrow it down to 3 candidates.
Yes,
at that meeting.
Each of us is going to interview individually by phone or in person, however you choose, each of the candidates. And then we would, my suggestion is we would then, among us individually, we would come back to the November meeting and submit our top 3 to the clerk, and then pare down to 3 candidates by the end of that meeting. Then a week later, we'd have panel interviews.
So what you're suggesting that we go ahead and interview the candidates individually now,
yes,
and
sir.
then pare it down to 3.
Right. That's my suggestion. Again, I'm open to, Commissioner Ross seems to have a suggestion in this regard. I'm open to any concerns or questions to figure this out. And we have a time schedule. We need to get this done before the election, or I believe we'd have to start from a very early stage to start all over. And I don't believe that would be in the best interest of the village.
And we rank the 3?
Yeah.
Okay, because one of the candidates is not even in the state.
Well, you can phone interview, and if they make it to the top 3, then conceivably they would choose to fly in, or we'd make some accommodation. Okay. However that works. I haven't gotten that far yet.
Question: do we have Skype capabilities at the Village Hall?
I've had Caesar.
I believe that there is a Skype account created. If not, we can do it. It's just which computer would we utilize for it. Currently, none of our computers actually have video cameras equipped with them. So it's finding one that would actually do it, one that supports it with the proper speed, because some of the computers that we currently have are really outdated. So we would need to equip it properly so everything would operate smoothly.
If your concern is the gentleman from out of state, I mean, from what he has told us, he's willing to come down. There's no, he's willing to come down if he's one of the finalists. So,
but we need to talk with him before the.
Which I would suggest at this point doing a phone interview.
You would interview all of the candidates prior.
I know.
Any other concerns or suggestions?
I was kind of hoping this commission would narrow the field down tonight before we even got started on talking to them.
Not only narrow it down, but I think we also need to, we've been proceeding very slow, cautiously, given it's an important decision, but I think that we need to, at this time, that we have a narrower field, speed things up a little bit. Bear in mind that when we come down to the panel discussions and decide on a person, that person then has to go and get their lives in order, give notice where they are, so it's going to be extended, further and further down. I would like to see us narrow down to 3 within the next 2 weeks, say, if we do our individual interviews and then come together for either provide the manager our top 3 pick, ranked and come together for a special meeting, say, on the 8th or on the 22nd. I think on the 20th
of October.
Yeah, I think on the 22nd of October, all of the candidates are in town.
I thought if the manager can clarify, I thought that you'd determined that it was difficult to get all of us in the same place at the same time.
All 5 of you and all 7 current candidates, yes.
Okay.
However, taking Commissioner Ross's suggestion of possibly narrowing tonight or maybe in the next 1 or 2 weeks, the playing field now becomes more open.
So if we were in the next 2 weeks do our telephone or face-to-face individual interviews, come back to the manager with our ranking of the top 3, then maybe she can find a common day, common evening when those 3 can be panel interviewed.
If you don't mind me interrupting, I have a technological concern. Is there a charger? My phone is entirely dead, so my ability to look at my schedule is significantly limited.
Sorry, no.
God, I love Apple and all technology in general right now.
Well, we can provide that when we provide her with the top 3.
If we're looking at a special meeting, it's going to be difficult, I think, to email dates for a special meeting, although that might be possible.
Mayor?
Yes.
I would just remind the commission that we have a special, well, we have an executive session October 17th that I think everybody's available for. That will be less than an hour or less, if you want to do it after that.
Is everybody available for the 17th?
Yeah, because we're available for the special meeting.
Well, just because you're available for an hour doesn't mean you're available for 3. I hope you're right.
I think that there's a candidate that's going to be out of town on the 17th.
No, but isn't what we're talking about, that we're going to be narrowing, that's the time when we narrow down.
We're not going to need the candidates there for the 17th. We're just announcing the candidates conceivably on the 17th.
The three, we've narrowed it down to 3.
And then we can schedule the panel on the 6th, you're saying, on November 6th.
Sooner.
Either before or after.
Sooner.
Either before or after the meeting. So, is everybody available on the 17th?
Yes. Yeah, we already have an executive session that night.
Yeah.
Although, looking at, I really like to interview people in person rather than on the telephone. And I know that Commissioner Anderson, you're going to be, you're not unavailable at a certain time, and not everybody is available. But I would think that perhaps we could choose a date when some of the candidates, 3 or 4 of them are available, that we could speak. We'd save the candidates time to drive out to meet with each one of us individually or talk on the phone. I'm sorry.
I really think that individual phone interviews are the best way to go. I appreciate your interest in face-to-face, and I encourage you to use Skype through the village or whatever else. But trying to schedule that many people at once, well, the reason I came up with this concept is because it was so difficult to get so many people together. So. I have no problem with the idea of the October 17th meeting being an announcement of the final 3 candidates, and then we move from there. And on the 6th, we have panel interviews. That's fine with me.
In the regular commission meeting.
Do we have relative consensus on that? I see 1 nod, I see 2 nods. Yes?
I have a question. When we do this second narrowing on the 17th, and hopefully we'll pick 3 people, many of us will have some of those 3 people in common. Right. Is that the point where we're going to do background checks and complete?
That was going to be my next question, that perhaps between the 17th and the 6th, we would do the background and provide that to you. So we have that available to you on the 6th.
And so is the idea that on the 6th we will do the panel interview, maybe have a meet and greet early on so that some of the residents can come, and also make a decision that night?
On the 17th or the 6th?
On the 6th.
The 6th is the panel for the 3.
Correct.
Right. That we would make a decision that evening.
Whoa.
I don't know that we would announce it there, but I don't have any problem with that if there's no legal concern with that.
I don't feel comfortable with that,
Okay.
making a decision instantly upon the interview. I'd like to think about it.
Then that means that I would suggest that you schedule a special commission meeting midway November,
Which was what we were going to do.
which is kind of like.
You
In
think
the
it's just
first
the next
place.
week?
It would have to be the next week because then we start to run up with Thanksgiving and various other issues.
I think that just enhances your, having the 17th as
So-
picking the top 3 enhances your original suggestion.
We narrow it to the top 3 on the 17th. And then on the 6th, we interview.
Panel interview on
And
11/6.
I think it sounds nice, give it a certain amount of circumstance for the following week, say the 13th or thereabout, for the announcement, so that we can appreciate the announcement and its importance.
November 11th is Veterans Day, so that's a holiday. You have the 12th, the 13th, or the 14th?
What about the 13th? How's
That's-
everybody look on?
That's Wednesday.
You want to do it on the 14th? How's November 14th sound?
Thursday, the 14th?
Special meeting.
I'm
What?
sorry?
That would be a special meeting where we vote.
Right, where you would make your decision, you would announce your,
Okay. Do we have consensus on that?
What time?
7 o'clock?
usually our specials are at 6:30.
6:30? 7 o'clock, which one?
7 o'clock is a whole lot more sure.
Okay. 7 o'clock?
Okay.
It shouldn't be a long meeting, I wouldn't imagine. It should just be, of course, you never know. But, so 7 o'clock on the 14th for the announcement.
Again, it's a selection, and then we go to negotiation.
Would the negotiation be prior to the announcement or after the announcement?
It's usually after.
No,
the
after the announcement, but
Okay.
it can be, I think, people have seen what the contract looks like, and we wouldn't be too far off of it, probably.
Okay.
So the idea is that we'll bring, hopefully, the final 3, or maybe it's only final 2,
To the November 6th meeting.
to the November 6th and the November 14 meeting.
November 14th.
The November 14th would be the announcement.
The vote.
You don't,
Somebody makes a motion to pick.
But you'd expect the 3 candidates to be at both meetings.
unless they're told ahead of time who
Well, they
was
can't be told
selected.
ahead of time.
They're allowed to
What-
leave the meeting either way.
What- But if we're going to vote at that meeting on the 14th, how would anybody know what the result is until we actually vote? Right?
So, yeah, we'd have all 3 at both meetings.
No, but people don't have to go to the meeting.
The candidate
That's-
wouldn't want to
it's
come?
their choice.
Well, no, if you're busy,
It's their choice.
yeah.
I think that's a good schedule, and that
I
gets
don't
us
think Anna was
in
gonna be-
line with a new manager coming in for the new commission, whatever construction that commission might be in. So,
You know, okay, I think it extends the process. What I've seen, what North Miami Beach did, and what I've seen other cities do is have your panel interview, make your decision that day. That's, that's just the process that other cities make. I know we
a
do
lot of
everything
other
very...
cities do a lot of things. We do things.
No,
our
I
own
know we're very special here, and we do things our own certain way, but I think that it's extending the process for the candidates, for us, for the city, for our interim manager. I really think we need to step it up. Because now we're in November, and we're 2 weeks before an election, we're in campaign season, so are we gonna then extend some opportunity to have a say-so for the candidates that are gonna be...
We're announcing on the 14th, which means inherently there won't be any new commission until December, which means that candidates are residents, whether they're incumbent candidates or non-incumbent candidates, they're still residents. They get a say and structure in taking part in the meetings just like everybody else does. So I don't see any reason why announcing on the 14th means that we have to push it into December. You made a suggestion that we have a special meeting extension on October 17th. That was taken up. Everyone seems to agree with that. Then the suggestion was that we have the top 3 interview, and we took that up. It seems that everybody is in agreement with what you originally scheduled, and now you're arguing with what you originally scheduled.
I didn't offer to have 2 separate days for the panel and the selection.
You don't always get what you want.
All right. All right. Well, if we want to step it up, could we then schedule this special meeting like a Saturday morning or something, some other time, or closer within the same week as the commission meeting? I just think that when we interview the candidates, that we would want to hear what other people have thought of the candidates and discuss it before making our decision.
We seem to have gotten a significant amount of consensus on the schedule as it stands.
Well,
I don't understand why we're arguing over something we seem to have agreed on. This is the second time this happened.
And Mayor, out of respect to the Resident Review Committee, at their meeting, at the end of the meeting, they did make a motion that they would like to be involved or provide input when the final selections are made. So you may want to consider that as well.
I'm looking for consensus that October 17th we come back with our top 3.
Yes.
Do I have any problem with that?
No. No problem.
Okay. I'm looking for consensus that we have an interview of the top 3 at the November 6th meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. That's fine.
I'm looking for the date of an announcement that currently, as I understand it, stands at November 14th. Does anybody have a better date other than the 14th? I had one commissioner say that we shouldn't announce on the same day as the interviews. I've had another commissioner say we should announce on the same day as the interviews. So I'm trying to be flexible here and willing to consider other ideas, but I understood it to be the 14th as an acceptable date. If there are other concerns, then I'm willing to hear them.
Taking up Commissioner Watts' suggestion, how about the Saturday following that November 7th meeting, which would be Saturday the 9th, have a special meeting in the morning, make our announcement, and then we'll have apprised the candidate of who the selection is, and that candidate, now the manager selected, can start their process.
There's already one commissioner who can't attend a Saturday meeting. So I would suggest, how about the 11th rather than the 9th, the Monday?
The
It's
12th?
Veterans Day.
The 12th? That would.
The 12th.
That would be fine with me.
The 12th. How does the 12th look?
You mean instead of having it on the 14th?
Instead of having it on the 14th. Good way to spend 25 minutes arguing over 2 days.
I don't see any reason to move it from the 14th. Everybody was fine with the 14th. Why not leave it there?
Okay. I'm looking for consensus on the 14th as the announcement date at 7 p.m.
You have it from me.
2,
I'll be there.
3, Commissioner Watts, 4, Commissioner Ross?
It doesn't have to be unanimous. I'd like to
Okay.
speed up the process, but
Well.
the majority rules.
Okay, so our announcement date will be November 14th. The top 3 will be determined on October 17th. Interviewing will be on the 6th, and the announcement will be on the 14th. Understood? Good. I love it when things go fast. 13B as in boy, mural art project. Commissioner Watts?
Well, we have a decision to make, whether or not, or even a decision to make one way or the other if we go forward with the mural project. Things did not sort of evolve the way that I had planned for them or hoped for them, but we have some votes from people in the community. from various artists, and we have the recommendations of a panel of 3 professionals who went through the resumes and qualifications of the artists and came up with their consensus as to which were the preferred. So there's a difference. There's always a difference of opinion in public art commissions. And I was just thinking of, I was talking with my brother the other day about the outcry that came when Mayor Daley decided to get what is called the Rusty Duck as in front of the city center in Chicago. So what we have is the majority of the residents voted, or a good majority voted for the six. Well, we've got 11 for Lonnie Johnson's, 6 for Daniel Thomas Cams, 13 for Kaz Williams. And I have to say that the votes, in my estimation, that many of the votes are for some images that are inappropriate for the village rec center. I tend, in my mind, I think that the opinions of the experts favoring Adonis Parker's proposal, which needs a little tweaking, I think that's the preferable mural. And Adonis Parker has the most experience, I think, of all of the candidates in doing public artworks. He did the North Miami mural at Claude Pepper Park, and works with disadvantaged youths who help him doing his murals. And I think that is the one that I think is preferable, and I can go through the various ones and tell you. I don't know anybody. I don't know anybody who applied. I told you that there were 2 people that I'd hoped. I told you in person.
Commissioner Watts, this is not the time.
Okay, I am not holding back a single thing. I have met Adonis Parker, so has Commissioner Ross. We met him with Anna Garcia at a function. Otherwise, I know none of the candidates. Never heard of any of them.
Okay.
Is the number, is the votes? So it's 9 votes, 1 person.
So, what is the motion?
I didn't vote, so it would have been 2.
Commissioner Watts, what motion are you putting forward at this time?
Open that for discussion.
So we have, are you putting forward a motion? What do you want the commission to do at this point?
Well, we can discuss.
Well, we're going to discuss it either way. We have to have something as far as what we're going to do with it to be able to discuss it. Are you suggesting that we approve one of these? Are you suggesting that we commit the resources we've already got committed to this? Are you suggesting that what is your...
I'm suggesting that we choose an image and then decide to go forward with more fundraising efforts for it, or a proposal to the artist to choose to whether or not he or she will accept the money that has been raised thus far.
Okay, I'm open for discussion at this time. Do I have a second to that motion for a discussion about this topic? I got a motion and a second.
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Commissioner Cooper.
Okay, what was the motion again?
To choose an image and continue to either fundraise or to ask the selected artist to do it for the amount that we have raised so far.
Plus an allocation from the City Hall, amount to be determined.
I don't understand that. I'm sorry?
We did allocate certain money in the budget.
Correct.
We don't have to spend all of that money. It can be decided on by the commission what price we want to decide upon.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I think you said that some of this is inappropriate for our village. Would you comment on that a bit further, please?
I think that, not to say that the images themselves, but the place that they are, that it will be, that something such as the Luis Valles one, the eagle,
the one at the top, right?
with the dark trees is sort of like scary. And I think that just with people living right across the street looking at that, I just, don't think that that's quite appropriate. Lonnie Johnson's received a lot of votes. Dr. Jonas knows Lonnie Johnson, apparently. Well, she was, I think that person was put a reference on his or her resume.
Never heard of Lonnie.
Okay. Well, Lonnie Johnson, I think Lonnie Johnson's design looks best as a record jacket or something and would not be appropriate.
What is it?
Number.
With 54 votes, with 100 votes, excuse me. The green line is the number of votes, correct?
Yes, based on their votes or dollar votes.
I would
The
go by
green
dollar
line
votes.
is the total of votes and dollar votes?
The total, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So in that case,
The dollar-
46 people voted yes, and you got 54 votes because somebody donated $45.
So I don't think that the dollar votes should really count in our estimation. So the richest person.
They should not count? I'm sorry.
Well, I think that because, well, if you have, if you're rich and can donate $200, you can get 200 votes, but if you can't, I think that we should go by the free votes.
Clarify, please, which one got the most votes.
Okay, I'm looking.
From the
Daniel
residents?
Thomas, from the residents, Daniel Thomas Camp.
That is correct. 107 votes,
The
not
one-
including the dollar votes.
The one on the top of the page break right
The
there.
one that has the
The
little
the
logo.
one on the bottom.
And we can read what the people had to say about them if we want.
I would be willing to support this as funded by the community. I would suggest that we move forward on fundraising. I don't, at this point, see enough support within the community for this project and the expenditure of a significant amount of village funds. And with our budget the way it is, I would encourage those people interested and the community as a whole to fundraise as best it can to support this privately.
Well, I would just counter that, and in the end, it doesn't matter to me. But I would counter this by saying that it is, as I said before, really part of, and I think an important part of our village to support the arts, an important aspect of the village. And I think every municipality, if we even think of art in public places, through the County of Miami-Dade, which designates a certain percentage of every building that's built, is supposed to have a work of art in it. If we think of the National Endowment for the Arts, our whole national campaign to foster the arts and artistic development and commissions, I think it's being patriotic in a sense to support the arts, and I think this would be a good project for us. I'm not opposed to trying to look for fundraising, but I think that a small amount, whatever you decide on, from the village coffers would be a sign that we put, in a sense, our money where our mouth is, and that we support the arts and support these types of projects.
Have we determined what the artists are willing to do this work for?
Yeah, that was all included in your package. Everybody
Right.
provided.
Yeah.
And virtually everyone.
Well, originally, the way the budget got passed, it was half to be funded by us, and then the other half by donations. And I'm just curious, do these commissioners that's sitting up here pushing for this, what do they donate?
I'm waiting to donate. I'm going to donate, right? But I didn't like the process of paying for votes, so I just thought I'd wait until the thing of buying votes. So I
You don't have, you can just straight donate.
Yeah. Oh, I will. Don't worry.
Commissioner Ross?
This process, which should have been a happy, delightful, engaging thing, has become something torturous. I don't understand why there has to be such conflict in things that should bring joy and bring us together. I thought it was a nice idea to have a mural. We've talked about it for a long time, and the 80th anniversary seemed like this is it. This will be the impetus. This will finally get us over and help us get it. So I'm supportive of it. My vote, if we're going to pick an image, and I think that that's probably the next logical step we should take, is commit ourselves to an image, and then we can market that and raise funds to make that image a reality in the village. My vote for an image would be Daniel Cam's, because he received the most online votes and the most dollar votes. Full disclosure, some of those dollar votes are from my family. If we get consensus with that image, great. I'd love to go forward with it. If not, we can go down the line to what the next highest vote getter was.
If I might interrupt for a moment.
Mhm.
Commissioner Watts, if you're willing to entertain a motion on top of yours, because I believe we've already initiated the discussion, which was your motion, I would entertain a motion such that we would determine what image, whatever image it might be, tonight, and then move forward with whatever fundraising we can till the next meeting or till a date certain, so that we can know what the process is. Because as it stands right now, there doesn't seem to be the proper steps forward in whatever fashion they might be, whether they're fundraising or whether they're municipal support. I'm willing to entertain a motion simply to determine an image amongst the ones that are in front of us.
I think then...
I thought that was the motion that we have on the table.
I thought the motion was just for discussion.
No, sir.
Okay.
Proposes that we choose an image.
And continue to
Okay.
fundraise or ask selected items to do it for an amount raised so far or another amount that you stipulate.
My apologies.
And I would like, I think that we might discuss some of the images and the amount. For instance, Daniel Cam's proposal, that he's the resident of the village, I think he's one of your neighbors. He
Yes.
said, yeah.
What?
And that, the thing is that Daniel Cam is just graduated from school. He's, you know, a beginner. He's never done an exterior mural on his own. He's participated as a student with 2 other works, and so this I'm thinking of what Andrew Olis wrote in last month, or at the last meeting. I think that perhaps if we were to choose his, we would not even think of, you know, we would ask him to do so for a price that is commensurate with his experience.
Yeah, and I would suggest that, you know, that something, once we decide on which is the image we think best fits Biscayne Park, then I think that we could tell the artist, we really like your image, but you need to work with us. We, as I have suggested before, should then also solicit Home Depot, Kmart, all of these places that can maybe provide us with the materials, and we don't have to pay for them, and ask them to sponsor, and they'll get some recognition for their sponsorship. And through that way, I think that we could avoid using tax dollars. I think we should avoid using tax dollars. I picked Daniel. Yes, Daniel's my neighbor, and I picked him, but I also see that he got 107 online votes, so there must be a lot of support out there for him. And hopefully those people will open up their wallets and help fund the project.
The other image I'd really consider is, honestly, the one right on top of Daniel Cam's, because it evokes the historical and small-town feel that we all sit up here and try to mention at numerous opportunities. That doesn't mean I wouldn't be willing to support Daniel Cam. It is simply something to think about.
Which name, sir?
Chris Bermudez.
I'll tell you my thoughts on that. I thought that was cute and witty, but it would be appropriate more for something inside at some point in time if ever we had money for an interior mural. But the sort of sepia tone colors and everything, I had problems with envisioning it on the racquetball court.
At this point, I imagine we should simply go ahead.
I just wanted to make a brief comment, but I support using some public funds in this process. I think it's important to help drive the process in the future so that we always include public input. by allocating some public funds, we can, I think, assure that. I think that it can be a public-private partnership, but clearly we need some public funds. I look at the dollar votes, just a quick question, like $120 votes for Cecilia Lueza. How many individuals gave dollar votes, or do we know?
I believe one person.
One person.
Right, because that's the way the dollar votes were set up. I forgot, was it 6 for, I can't remember what it was.
12 for 10 or something like that?
Something like 12 for 10. So that person came in with $100. So
that's just
that's
one
120 votes.
person. Okay.
Correct.
And it shows it in the donation column.
Okay. Well, everybody's going to have their, preference. I don't see much, despite all the votes for Daniel Cam. I'm not impressed with it. I see a number of other images, from Chris Bermudez to even Noel Kasowitz and Cecilia Lueza that I would prefer, that I think is more in keeping with the character of our village. Daniel Cam's is just a representation of what actually exists in the park already. So why do we want to mirror what we see every day?
Makes absolute sense to. It makes absolute sense to. And I'm sorry, but this is why I kind of held back from committing, because I knew that whatever image I picked, Commissioner Cooper would go to the extreme opposite of that.
Well, actually, it's just nothing personal. It's just the.
Well, why don't we read what the outside commentators had to say?
Let's start with the support from the support they received in total votes, and see, based on the support they got, whether it's people taking part in the fundraising aspect or people not taking part in the fundraising aspect. These are the people that were most committed to taking part in the process. And listening to the community is generally a good idea. So I would suggest that we go step by step in the process and say, based on total votes, we vote on them one at a time, and those that can get 3 votes.
I think that we should also pay attention to what the evaluators, the professionals who are looking at this and who understand more, have more knowledge of people's qualifications, experience with doing exterior murals, who looked at the resumes, and who can have a better sense of, in a sense, design, understanding what might look better from a distance, what kind of what the composition is, the rendering of paint, whether or not you want something really that looks flat, or something that's modeled. I think that it behooves us to pay attention to what these, how these people judge the applicants.
Okay, I'll support that to only a degree, because this is obviously ephemeral. It's outdoors. I mean, how long do you project this lasting based upon the quality of the paints?
Years. Well, some of the applicants stand by their work and will come back and restore them. One of the applicants actually has done works on the restoring Purvis Young's murals. So it depends on how it is applied, whether or not the artist is going to put a sealant on it. They can last many, many years if it's done properly. If not, it can just, fall off and decay in 5 years.
I think it's an interesting concept to take a village resident who got the most votes and support a village resident on a village mural within the community, and he got the most votes. However that happened, that's what happened. But I'm not discussing the democracy of the issue, nor do I really think it matters how democratic the process was. It's a fundraiser. It fundraised, it got the most votes, and that's the one I think we should move forward on. There's my logic, flawed as it might be.
So, can I make a motion?
I'm happy to take a motion at this time.
Make a motion that we select the image proposed by Daniel Cam for the mural.
Do I have a second? I'll second it. Everyone's gotten a chance to talk. I say we vote on this specific image at this time. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion fails. Commissioner Watts, did you vote?
Yes, you did.
Yes.
You voted against? Motion fails 3-2. I'm open to other ideas at this time.
Can we go to the next
What's the-
total votes?
Next total votes would be Cecilia Luisa.
Wait a second.
Okay, can I get a motion to accept Cecilia Luisa? And I apologize.
It's the birds.
It's the birds, second from the top.
I'll move it.
Sorry, who made the motion?
Commissioner Cooper. Did you second? Do I have a second at this time?
I'm worried that she can paint them.
Seeing as there's no
Well, no, I will second that because
Okay.
it is the second highest number of, oh, I'm sorry. It's not the second most highest votes.
Who was the second highest votes?
Lonnie Johnson with 40, I'm looking at
Total
the
votes.
online votes,
No.
46 online votes.
I'm just looking at total votes.
Right, but Mayor, for the purposes, you gotta see if there's a second first.
Okay. I'll second it.
Commissioner Ross seconded.
She
I did.
reneged on, did you or did
No, I will.
Okay,
That's
so
fine.
we've got a motion and a second
For what?
for Cecilia Luisa. All in favor of Cecilia Luisa?
Aye.
Aye. All
I'm okay with it.
I've got 3-4, all against.
All against.
Commissioner Watts? Motion passes 3-2. So I would expect the administration to proceed in,
I would like to.
Never voted on Commissioner Watts's motion.
which,
Right, well, we selected an image, so now we could drop in.
All right, but you know, the thing is,
To
we
move forward.
selected an image, but we haven't, there might be other ones where we would be a 3-2 as well.
Okay, let's put that into the pot. Let's put this one into the pot and then proceed down the list. How is
And I
that?
would just like to.
it's 20 minutes to 11. This meeting is ending at 11 o'clock. Is there anything that is time sensitive at this time? We've done everything we need to do, okay?
I would just like to suggest if the Cecilia Luisa's proposal is accepted, although Kate Kretz thought that it might be a bit garish and we should talk with everyone in SLEC. But she said, if you give her the commission, I would ask that she convert the cardinal perch to a tree branch and make the forms of the flat background trees a bit more organic and less stylized. And if we give it to her, I would like those recommendations to be brought in.
My understanding was,
She's the artist.
yeah,
It's her artwork.
my understanding was
No, I
that,
understood you.
my understanding was that the professionals were going to give us opinions on techniques and experience and qualifications, but not on the actual art.
Part of the process for art in public places, I've learned, is that sometimes with other places, there are dozens and dozens of committees and meetings, and it's not at all uncommon to ask an artist to tweak a proposal, because these proposals are done for free in a short period of time, and so we might ask them to just sort of rework something to make it better. And that is very, very common in art in public places.
Okay. I apologize. Okay. Are we going through the next image, I imagine?
Does anybody support another one?
Can someone bring up another piece so that we can determine if that's also to be considered? How about going down the list, Lonnie Johnson? All in favor of considering Lonnie Johnson, who's got, as I understand it, the next largest total of total votes? Okay.
Oh, I know.
What about Saluna Fine Art?
If I could suggest, there's another resident that submitted a piece in collaboration with another artist, Adriana Sandoval.
That was what I was about to mention.
Okay.
Saluna Fine Art.
Yeah.
And Ricardo, Adriana Sandoval and Ricardo Bloom. That would be the next on the list. That would be second to last. Okay, is anybody willing to put forward that piece conceivably for the purposes of public art?
I would support it.
Okay.
In support of a resident, yes.
I'm willing to support it as well.
I would be interested in asking them to show us something else, but let's hear what Kate Kretz said. The proposal is very bad, horrible composition. Many of the previous examples are also quite bad in terms of composition, execution, etc. However, if you could get them to agree to do something like the Saluna interior mural that they submitted as a previous example, that might be appropriate for the Biscayne Park wall. Based on everything but the interior mural that they sent as a picture of, they would be at the bottom of the list.
So, haven't quite determined if that means you're willing to support them or not.
Not that particular image.
Okay. Do I have a third person that would support continuing this specific piece coming forward? Again, I think it's a really good idea to support residents that might be able to contribute and help out the village in this way and help out themselves. It appears that it does not have enough votes. So far we have 2.
You didn't want to take it, it was a motion, so you don't want to take a vote?
There wasn't a second or any. I'm sorry.
We both agreed. Okay, I seconded. All in favor of Saluna Fine Art?
Yes.
Yes. All opposed? Okay.
Commissioner Watts?
No.
Chris Bermudez is the only one left with more than 10 votes. So, is there anyone that's I'm willing to put forward Chris Bermudez? Appreciating that it might not be fine art, I think it's very nice and I think it would benefit the village. So I'll put forward Chris Bermudez as an idea. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second it.
I've got, okay, all in favor of Chris Bermudez? Okay. Chris Bermudez fails 3-2. Unless I see someone with a significant interest, I don't see anyone else with more than 10 votes. So I'm not entirely sure. We're down to 2. Can we bring this back at the next meeting? Now that we're down to 2?
Down to 2. We only have one that you all went forward with.
I thought we went forward. Did we only go forward with 1?
Cecilia Luisa.
I thought we went forward with Daniel Thomas Camp. No. Okay, so Cecilia Louisa.
Do you want to try that one again?
No, we've already voted on it. I'm willing to move forward at this time. Okay, Cecilia Louisa. Okay. Cecilia Louisa is the rendering we've chosen, if that's the correct term.
Well, I still would like
No. Manager, could you tell me which, because I was under the impression that Cecilia Louisa was the one we've chosen. Is that correct?
No, it's one of the contenders.
Was there another one that?
Yes.
No, it failed.
Daniel Thomas Camp failed 3-2.
All right, I would like to bring up Adonis Parker's design, one of several that he did, who was selected by all 3 of the outside evaluators who said the ability to execute his proposal, has experience working with large scale. His proposal will be pleasing and fit into the context without being visually jarring to neighbors or passers-by who have to look at it daily.
Okay, do I have a second for Adonis Parker?
I can't see enough detail in it, honestly. I wish I could see a larger image.
Personally, I like it. I like the image, but I'm not sure I like it for that wall, and it received 1 vote. So I don't, if people weren't excited about voting for it, I don't think that people will be excited about writing a check for it.
Okay. It appears to me that Cecilia Loaiza was the chosen piece at this time. I feel that that's the, what we're going to move forward now is using that image to fundraise and pursue that image.
Or I can contact her to see if she'll do it for
less money.
Less money.
By all means. Can we bring this back up at the November meeting for those purposes?
In that conversation with her, if you could ascertain what materials she would need, and then maybe we could solicit Home Depot or
Absolutely.
some other business to sponsor.
And to be honest with you, I can hopefully come back with a response on October 17th.
Sounds good. Okay. I'm interested in final public comment at this time.
You said it.
Well, if it weren't so tragic, it would be comic. I never can get rid of the image of how much flack Roxy Ross took one night when we had a horrible agenda. It had been backed up for months, and she decided that if every commissioner would just take 5 minutes and no more for each discussion, then we would get through the agenda, which in fact we did. But she took such heat, primarily from Brian Cooper and Steve Bernard. But tonight, and secondarily, of course, from Noah, who picked up on it later, but tonight, Noah introduced the idea of limiting a discussion to only 5 minutes each, and Brian thought that was too much. He figured 3 minutes would probably do it. It really is very, very sad. Noah watched you all evening, rude, tyrannical, infantile. It really was just awful.
Thank you.
Anderson, 11th Place, 119th Street. Well, there was one thing tonight, Fred, a little worse than that. They have 2 elected officials literally encourage residents to break the law. That's what you did, Noah and Brian. They have an unpermitted fence. That's against the law. You may not like how the vote went, but it went the way it did, and the fact that they have fixed up their home is irrelevant. That young couple, the young lady who spoke, they're fixing up their home too. So should they just go stick their metal roof on and say, it's okay, I'll pay the fine? You guys take an oath, and you encourage them to break the law in hopes of getting a better result.
It can't be
The
permanent.
bullying ordinance. Oh, the bullying resolution absolutely needs to be expanded to the commission. Brian's fixation with an employee, a contract employee from 4 years ago, who picked up a purse and left, didn't even give notice. Well, we know what that was based in. But fact is, the biggest bully, Brian against anyone on any committee who doesn't fall in line. And Noah, I'm sorry. You're a middle school teacher. Excuse me, my turn, my turn.
We got
You're a middle school teacher. You're a middle school teacher, Noah. I expect better. But fact is, you have one set of rules for him and one for everybody else. Lastly, annexation. You asked for a concession, you got the concession, you voted it down. It's like looking at the Tea Party. If you're against something, that's cool, I'm good with that. But come back with a viable alternative. You want to look at Miami Shores, Brian? Go for it. Start investigating it. Come back with something.
I think we all should.
No, I'm sorry. 3-story building on an empty lot? Those people didn't buy their single-story, single-family homes to be dwarfed by 3 stories. With the noise, with everything else that goes along with it, and the traffic that we all say we don't want. Or actually, maybe there won't be traffic, because how much call is there for commercial in this area? You go down the street toward Miami Shores, you go into North Miami, you go on the boulevard, empty buildings. So if you're going to be against things, offer us a solid alternative. You've had 15 months.
Thank you.
Chuck Ross, Griffin Boulevard. Well, I echo everything that Fred said about
what happened, your behavior, Noah. Janie, I'm going to disagree with you. The biggest bully up there is not Brian, it's Noah Jacobs. It's an embarrassment, the way that you clearly are biased against certain individuals and for other individuals. You don't treat anybody consistently up there. And anyway, as far as violating the code, agreed, you violated the code. And, you know, Brian, you're right, we should move forward with the bullying ordinance on the commission, as Janie said. As far as annexation is concerned, I didn't hear you explain, Noah, why you, as Janie said, you ask for a concession, you get a concession, then you vote against the resolution. Makes no sense at all. But you didn't explain why you voted against it. I've never heard you explain why you're against annexation. Not once. You're the one that said on your campaign literature that you would explain your votes. So I think we all deserve an explanation of why you are voting against what is not actually annexation at this point, but to ask our planners to go forward to finish the work that they already started to see if it's viable. That's what was voted against tonight. And I imagine it can be brought back as this goes on, and the longer it goes on, then this is it's getting to the point where we're probably not going to be able to move forward. If we had moved forward 8 months ago, we wouldn't have had to deal with the ballot issue. We need the money. You have not come up with, nobody up there has come up with another alternative, as I said earlier. The village needs revenue. Somebody come up with something. Property values are limited to 3% annual increase. We're down 30%. The numbers don't lie. Our fund balance has been reduced $500,000 since 2008. Our revenues have shrunk approximately $500,000 since 2008. How are we going to build up our reserves again if we don't find an alternative revenue source? We had municipal expert Ken Small, as I said earlier, endorse the proposal. He said it's a win-win. I believe Sally Heyman said it's a win-win. You need to explain why you voted against it, why you don't want to open your mind to this. And further, one of the things that I don't understand, and I haven't heard this yet, is it sounds like what you're putting forth, and this would include Commissioner Watts as well, is I hear personal opinions up there. What you're supposed to be doing is representing the entire village. You don't represent yourself up there. You wear a different hat. I have seen numerous residents come up here, and I've seen emails, all in support, because they understand that we need to go forward with annexation, because this village needs to grow and thrive. Otherwise, we go backwards and we die. You need to support your residents, not yourself. Thank you. Not your personal agenda.
Barbara Kuehl, 111th Street. And I agree with Fred, Janie, and Chuck, and everything they said, so I won't repeat it. The one thing that's, I don't know, the mural, I've been against the process for a long time, and it just keeps getting worse. If you wanted to do donations, fine. But now you finally made a selection, and now you're going to go back to artists who, in good faith, took the time to enter this process, to do the application, and you don't have funding, which you should have had to begin with. And now you're going to try to ask them if you can negotiate the fee. I think that's insulting, and I don't think you should be representing the village as one that puts out a proposal for $5,000, and then because you didn't plan this better, you didn't have the money there first committed for this, now you're asking them if they'll take less. And I think it's insulting, and if I were the artist, I would turn you down. As far as the variance discussion that went on, it's pathetic when two elected officials are talking to the residents that have come, trying to support codes in our village that are on the books now, that you voted for, and you're disgusted about the codes that are on the books and how residents have to abide by them. You are supposed to be supporting these things. If you feel residents should have the ability to build a front yard fence, then try to pass an ordinance, change the ordinance. Try to have workshops, see if you get any support. But don't dismiss the opinions of the residents when they're just telling you that these people have violated our code. Not just asking to build the fence, but have gone on and stuck you in the eye with a stick and said, can I keep it if I stick some bushes in front? And you two seem very happy to let them do that. And I think that's pathetic. Work legally, do it the right way, and if you don't like the way the codes that are on the books now, change it.
Thank you. Looking at the time, I would venture to guess if commissioners want 1 minute each. Commissioner Watts?
Have a good evening.
Commissioner Ross?
We should all go home and seriously consider this annexation issue, and as one of the residents pointed out, if you can't go with it, if you don't agree with it, find some other solution. We've been at this long enough. Get advice from your peers in other cities. Thank you.
Commissioner Cooper?
I think that we should look at all options as we move into this difficult financial future that we're facing. So far, I think I'm the only one who is suggesting that we reach out to Miami Shores and see if that is an option. I think we should explore all options, and failure to do so is not going to help us address the economic wall that we are clearly hitting. I would like to comment briefly about the comment about $500,000 that was once in this budget. It's true, okay? Our village was once funded at quite a bit more dollars than we currently have. But the ironic thing is, if you look back at when we had that extra $500,000 plus in our budget, and I think it was more than that, our village, I'm sorry?
It's down 5.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, but we once had an extra $500,000. We did nothing with it. You can look and see where it went, and it was fat. Okay, you look at our streets, you look at, we just got the trees trimmed just recently. Think of what we could have done with $500,000 if the village had been run properly at the time. It clearly wasn't run properly.
We got 2 minutes, and then I'm calling it over. You can respond to it in private, or you can do whatever you want, but you're not going to do it now. We don't have time. You had your chance.
We've got options in the future to have better management of our finances, and I think that we can look back at the past problems and recognize that we have to really work harder at budgeting. We're just not doing it effectively.
Thank you,
and we
Commissioner.
didn't do it effectively back when we had the $500,000.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson?
Yes, I make a motion to have Brian Cooper talk to the administrator, talk to the elected officials in Miami Shores to go ahead and talk about having them take us over. He keeps bringing it up and then report back to us at November's commission meeting.
Thank you so much.
I second that.
Okay. I'm not open for motions at this time. Yeah, I think that all things need to be explored. I think all avenues need to be explored. However, I don't think that creating a situation with a resolution that I don't think is well thought out is the way to go. And for those of you that are familiar with the legislative process, very often you amend things that you don't necessarily intend to pass in the attempts that if other people pass it, it's more acceptable to you, even if you didn't like the concept as a whole. You make it the best you can. Now, if you don't understand that, I'm sorry about that. But that's what I did, and I think it's a sound strategy. That being said, there was a lot of talk earlier tonight from a resident about bravery. I think it's remarkably important that we all exhibit bravery in that we're representing the whole of the village, not just the 6 or 7 people that continually get up with a singular agenda that repeat themselves over and over again. We have to understand that there's a whole village that we have to represent and work for, not just one specific opinion. Thank you very much for coming out. Can I have the announcements, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Let me make sure here. Wednesday, October 2nd is Code Review Board at 7 p.m. Thursday, October 3rd is the Recreation Advisory Board at 7 p.m. Tuesday, October 8th is Code Compliance Board at 7 p.m. Thursday, October 10th is the Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. On Monday, October 14th, all village departments are closed for Columbus Day. Wednesday, October 16th, Parks and Parkway Advisory Board at 6 p.m. Monday, October, just want to say that on, Thursday, October 17th is executive session for the commission. Monday, October 21st, Planning and Zoning Board at 6:30 p.m. Monday, October 21st, Ecology Board at 6:30 p.m. Saturday, October 26th is our Halloween Fun House from 3 to 5 p.m. Also, Saturday, October 26th is the Children's Safety Day from 3 to 5 p.m. And our next regular commission meeting is Wednesday, November 6, 2013, at 7 p.m. Because on Tuesday, November 5th, we have a special election through Miami-Dade County.
Motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to leave? I got a second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed, motion passes.